A night of passion with a stunning beauty, and she took a knife to cut me by the bed. Chu Lingtian spent a night of passion with a stunning beauty, it was a mutual desire. But when he woke up the next morning, the beauty actually came at him with a knife. You were the one who took the initiative to undress first last night, Chu Lingtian said, holding her down. However, what happened next was truly something no one could have ever expected. Chapter 1, I saved a stunning beauty, but she wants to kill me. In the morning, in a hotel room, Chu Lingtian, lying naked in bed, suddenly opened his eyes, sprang up, and with the speed of the wind, grabbed a woman's wrist with his left hand and squeezed her fair neck with his right hand. The woman was stunningly beautiful, her face like that of a fairy, with smooth, delicate skin, a tall and curvaceous figure, long hair flowing down her shoulders, and especially her full, rosy lips, which looked so enticing they almost took his breath away. Chu Lingtian frowned and asked, "You want to kill me? Beast! Last night, you forced me, I'm going to kill you," the beautiful woman cried, holding a small fruit knife in her right hand, struggling to break free from Chu Lingtian's grasp. Chu Lingtian rolled his eyes. Liu Bingxue, calm down for a moment. Think carefully, what exactly happened last night? Liu Bingxue looked at Chu Lingtian's expression with increasing disdain. She furrowed her brows, and her mind started racing as she slowly recalled the events from the night before. Seeing her lost in thought, Chu Lingtian let go of her and stood up to pick up his underwear from the carpet and put it on. Thud! Liu Bingxue's fruit knife fell to the floor as tears welled up in her eyes, rolling down her pale, delicate cheeks. She remembered what happened last night. She had been harassed by a few thugs at a bar, and after Chu Lingtian drove them off, she invited him for a drink to show her gratitude. One thing led to another, and they had ended up in a hotel room together. Seeing her sobbing like a delicate flower, Chu Lingtian said, "Don't worry, even though you were the one who initiated things last night and I was passive, I've always taken responsibility for my actions. As a man, I'll take responsibility for you." Responsibility? Liu Bingxue forced a bitter smile, her eyes filled with resentment as she glared at him. She yanked the blanket off the bed and threw it to the floor. How are you going to take responsibility? What are you going to do? Chu Lingtian looked at the bloodstains on the white bedsheet and was stunned. He hadn't expected Liu Bingxue to be a virgin. In today's open-minded society, most people lose their virginity early, often before they are even of legal age. For someone as stunning as Liu Bingxue, in her 20s with countless admirers, it was hard to believe she had kept her virginity. This showed she was a woman who valued herself. For a woman, her first time was undeniably important. At that moment, Liu Bingxue's phone rang. She picked up the phone from the nightstand, took a deep breath to calm herself, and then pressed the call button. "Mom. Where did you go last night? You didn't come home all night," came the voice of a middle-aged woman on the other end. The woman was Liu Bingxue's mother, Zhang Ping. Liu Bingxue paused for a moment before replying, "I was working overtime at the office, so I slept on the couch there." "Bingxue, you're 25 now. You can't keep focusing only on work. You need to think about your personal life. Your father's condition is getting worse day by day. Do you really want him to die with regrets? Do you want him to leave this world without peace of mind?" Zhang Ping said, choking back tears. Hearing that her father's condition was worsening and that he didn't have long to live, Liu Bingxue blurted out in a panic, "Mom, tell Dad that I already have a boyfriend. I just didn't know when to introduce him to you and Dad properly." "Really? You have a boyfriend? How come you never told me about it?" Zhang Ping asked in surprise. One lie often leads to another, and Liu Bingxue had no choice but to continue lying. "Yes, I've been with him for a while, but we weren't sure about the relationship, so I didn't tell your dad yet." "That's great. I'll tell your father right away. Tonight, you bring him home for dinner, and your father will be so happy. It might even help his condition improve. But remember, don't lie to us. The doctor already said your dad can't handle any more shocks." "Mom." Liu Bingxue wanted to avoid it, but before she could speak, Zhang Ping hung up. Now, Liu Bingxue was in real trouble. She had no boyfriend. Everything she had said was a lie. Over the years, her focus had been on her studies and career. Even though many men had pursued her, none had ever captured her heart. But now it seemed that tonight, she absolutely had to bring a boyfriend home to meet her parents. If her father really died because of her deception, how could she face her mother and sister? How could she live with her conscience? At that moment, Liu Bingxue looked up and saw Chu Lingtian, who was putting on his pants. She froze for a moment, suppressed her anger, and asked, "Are you free tonight?" "Huh." Chu Lingtian was taken aback, then grinned teasingly. "What, you want to continue? Bastard." Liu Bingxue gritted her teeth in anger but was helpless. After all, the events of last night were entirely her own drunken decision. She could only hold on to Chu Lingtian's previous words as leverage. "Didn't you say you'd take responsibility for me? Then tonight, come home with me, pretend to be my boyfriend, and meet my parents." "What do you mean by that?" Chu Lingtian asked, raising an eyebrow. Liu Bingxue explained, "My parents have been pushing me to marry for years, and recently, my father's condition has worsened. So, I need you to pretend to be my boyfriend, come home, and meet my parents. Cheer them up and make them happy. As long as you don't let them find out the truth, I'll pay you a sum of money as a reward. But remember, we have no feelings for each other. We're not even friends. Last night was just an accident. Pretend like nothing happened. Once you've helped me with my parents tonight, take the money and get lost. Never show up in front of me again." "Fine," Chu Lingtian shrugged indifferently. He felt that as a man, he should take responsibility for having taken her virginity. Since Liu Bingxue wasn't asking for much, just for him to pretend to be her boyfriend, he figured it wouldn't be too difficult. Liu Bingxue quickly put on her red high heels, her long, beautiful legs standing out in their allure. She walked straight toward the door. "How about we take a shower before we go? After all, we both sweated quite a bit last night," Chu Lingtian said, admiring her seductive figure, a wicked smile creeping across his face. Liu Bingxue stopped, turned around. Chapter 2, Liu Bingxue's twin sister. Swish. In response to Chu Lingtian's teasing, Liu Bingxue grabbed a Red Bull can from the side counter, her face full of rage, and threw it at him with all her might. Bang! Chu Lingtian casually waved his right hand and, with perfect accuracy, pinched the Red Bull can out of the air. Liu Bingxue shot him a hateful glance before stomping out of the room, her high heels clicking with each step. Her body swayed irresistibly, the curves of her hips accentuated as she stormed out of the door in anger. Chu Lingtian released his grip on the can, and immediately, 5 streams of yellow liquid sprayed out from 5 punctured holes. He had only applied a slight amount of pressure with his fingers, yet the can, made of tough metal, was punctured 5 times. His finger strength was terrifying. But for Chu Lingtian, this was nothing. He could snap steel rifles with one hand. 5 years on the battlefield, countless enemies slain, a heroic legacy that had struck fear into the army. From an unnoticed soldier to the commander of the Wolf Squad, known as the Death God Wolf King, Chu Lingtian had risen to the top in just 5 years, a feat that was unmatched in the history of China's military. What he didn't expect was that on his very first night back in the city, this top-tier soldier, the Death God Wolf King, would lose his virginity to Liu Bingxue. After tossing the Red Bull can into the trash, Chu Lingtian quickly washed his hands and left the hotel room with his room key. In the lobby, he handed the key card to the front desk. A beautiful hotel receptionist, with a signature smile, said, "Mr. Chu, you still owe 87 yuan for the room." "All right," Chu Lingtian replied, but as he checked his pockets and his phone's online payment options, he found he was still short of the 87 yuan. With no other option, he walked over to Liu Bingxue, who was sitting in the lobby, and asked, "Do you have 87 yuan? "What for?" Liu Bingxue retorted. "We're short 87 yuan for the room we booked last night. I don't have it, so I'm asking if I can borrow it from you." Liu Bingxue, already in a bad mood, broke down in frustration. "How did I end up so unlucky, meeting a useless man like you who can't even pay 87 yuan? Even a beggar on the street has more power than you. Here." She threw a 100 yuan note at him before quickly walking out of the hotel in embarrassment. Chu Lingtian chuckled. What does it mean to have power? He could face off against hundreds and kill enemies with these. Doesn't that count as having power? Inside a taxi, Liu Bingxue instructed the driver to head to the bar where she had parked her car the night before. Soon, they arrived at the bar, and Liu Bingxue retrieved her car from the nearby parking lot, a red BMW 7 Series. "This car suits your style," Chu Lingtian remarked, settling into the passenger seat with a smile. Liu Bingxue shot him a cold look. "What's your phone number?" Chu Lingtian replied with his number. Liu Bingxue typed it into her phone and sent a message. Ding! Chu Lingtian's phone buzzed with an incoming message. Liu Bingshua's voice turned serious. The message contains some basic details about my family. When you meet my parents tonight, you must be careful with what you say. My father's health is worsening, and I can't let him be stressed out. If you make a mistake and they find out you're not really my boyfriend, I will not let you off the hook. Don't worry, Chu Lingtian nodded as he read the message on his phone. Afterward, Liu Bingshua took him to a nearby shopping mall. They bought some gifts for her parents and a new white shirt, suit jacket, trousers, and shoes for Chu Lingtian. When Chu Lingtian changed out of his faded t-shirt, army green shorts, and worn-out slippers, and emerged from the changing room, Liu Bingshua, who had been feeling frustrated and reluctant, couldn't help but be impressed. Chu Lingtian wasn't exceptionally handsome, but his looks were captivating in their own way. With his short hair and bronze skin, plus his height of over 6 feet and well-built physique, he looked stunning in the suit, his posture tall and proud, exuding a stylish, masculine vibe. Liu Zong, where should we go next? Chu Lingtian asked, walking up to Liu Bingshua. After reading the message Liu Bingshua had sent, Chu Lingtian realized that she was the CEO of a company. It's getting late. Let us go meet my parents now, Liu Bingshua said as she glanced at her Cartier watch. We're a couple now, so you should stop calling me Liu Zong. Just call me Bingshua. All right, Schwer, Chu Lingtian grinned, teasing her. Liu Bingshua frowned. She hadn't expected him to speak so familiarly. She decided that the more intimate the address, the less likely her parents would see through the act, so she reluctantly nodded. By the way, in the family details you sent me, why is there only one name for your sister, and no other details? Chu Lingtian asked, somewhat confused. Liu Bingshua furrowed her brow slightly. My sister and I both have our own companies. As for her, well, you'll understand when you meet her. Just don't engage with her too much. If she tries to flirt with you, just ignore her. Flirt? But tonight, I'm supposed to be your boyfriend when I meet your parents. Your sister would be my sister-in-law, so why would she try to flirt with me? Does she have some strange habit of competing with you for men? Chu Lingtian couldn't help but imagine Liu Bingshua's sister, wondering what she might look like. Liu Bingshua's face grew cold, and she said impatiently, just follow my instructions. But she's probably working late tonight, so you likely won't meet her. You're Liu Bingshua, and your sister's name is Liu Huohuo? Your parents sure gave you two names that complement each other, Chu Lingtian joked. Liu Bingshua rolled her eyes at him but didn't respond. She started the car and drove toward her parents' neighborhood. As they passed a market, Chu Lingtian asked Liu Bingshua to stop and quickly borrowed 1,000 yuan before walking into the market. A short time later, Chu Lingtian returned to the car holding a large black plastic bag. Liu Bingshua asked, what did you buy? Of course, it's something good, Chu Lingtian replied as he placed the plastic bag at his feet. We might not be a wealthy family, but we've had the best food and goods, Liu Bingshua started, but was interrupted by Chu Lingtian. Don't worry. What I bought will definitely be liked by your parents. Let us go, don't keep them waiting. Liu Bingshua checked her watch and saw it was already 7:30 p.m. She knew there wasn't much time left and didn't ask what was in the bag. She sped up to make sure they arrived on time. Luxury Villa District. Though not the most extravagant area in the city, this villa district ranked among the top 3, with each villa valued at no less than 15 million yuan. Liu Bingshua drove into the underground parking lot of the villa district, handed several gift bags to Chu Lingtian, and said, when we go in, give these to my parents as gifts from you. Remember, you're my boyfriend now. Got it, Chu Lingtian replied, taking the gift bags from Liu Bingshua. As he did, he placed his other black plastic bag at his feet and, with his free hand, wrapped it around her slim waist. Bastard, what are you doing? Liu Bingshua cried out in shock, her face turning pale with fury as she slapped him across the face. Chapter 3, Liu Huohuo is really a little temptress. Hey, we're a couple in love now, hugging, kissing, and all those sweet things. Isn't that normal? But you won't even let me touch your waist. It's going to be hard to keep the act up in front of your parents, you know. Chu Lingtian quickly dodged the slap that Liu Bingshua aimed at his face. Liu Bingshua missed, her anger flaring. Chu Lingtian, listen to me. I'm only bringing you home tonight to pretend to be my boyfriend. There's no real relationship or feelings between us. After this is over, you take your money and leave. I never want to see you again. And if you try anything with me again, I'll have you castrated. You wouldn't, would you? It's such a useful thing, you wouldn't want to give it up, right? What if you need it later? Chu Lingtian wasn't intimidated by Liu Bingshue's cold and domineering presence. Instead, he grinned and teased her. Liu Bingshue was about to explode, but just then, a man and two women walked by. She bit her lip, held back her anger, and whispered, "When we meet my parents later, let us keep physical contact to hand-holding and hugging only." "All right, I'll try my best to cooperate with you. But you need to control yourself too. Don't go and push me onto the bed again like last night, begging for it." "I was totally caught off guard," Chu Lingtian said with a shrug, as if he was the one who suffered. Liu Bingshue shot him a cold glare, then led the way to the elevator. Liu Bingshue's parents lived in a detached villa, and the elevator took them directly from the underground floor to the front door. Ding dong, ding dong. Liu Bingshue rang the doorbell. Although she could unlock the door with facial recognition or her fingerprint, she had been taught to always knock before entering, no matter whose house it was. The door quickly opened, revealing a middle-aged woman in her 50s. Chu Lingtian had seen Liu Bingshue's family profile earlier and recognized the woman as her mother, Zhang Ping. "Bingshue, is this your boyfriend?" Zhang Ping asked, her eyes scanning Chu Lingtian up and down. Liu Bingshue quickly nudged Chu Lingtian's hand. It was Chu Lingtian's first time in such a situation, and he hesitated for a moment. But soon, he smiled and said, "Hello, auntie. My name is Chu Lingtian. I'm Shue's boyfriend. It's a pleasure to meet you." "Hello," Zhang Ping said warmly. "Bingshue told me you were bringing your boyfriend home tonight. We didn't believe it at first, but now, I see it's true. Come on in, Xiaochu." Zhang Ping smiled and shook Chu Lingtian's hand. As Chu Lingtian walked in, he noticed the traditional Chinese wooden decor that gave the house a strong sense of elegance and quality. Liu Bingshue turned to her mother and asked, "Where's Dad?" Your dad had another episode earlier, but he's feeling better after taking his medicine. He's resting in the living room," Zhang Ping sighed, her face showing concern. Liu Bingshue immediately showed a worried expression. "Let us go to the study first, then we'll meet him after he wakes up. Your dad isn't asleep, and I'm sure he'll be very happy to meet your boyfriend. You two should go see him now," Zhang Ping said, leading them toward the living room. As they entered the living room, Chu Lingtian saw a middle-aged man lying in a reclining chair. He looked about 60, with a neat, parted hairstyle and a refined appearance. However, his pale face revealed his poor health. This man was Liu Bingshue's father, Liu Shu. "Dad, how are you feeling? Are you okay?" Liu Bingshue rushed to her father's side, squatting down, her beautiful face filled with concern. "I'm fine. It's just the old issue. I feel much better after taking the medicine." Liu Shu opened his eyes and smiled at his daughter. When he saw Chu Lingtian standing nearby, he slowly stood up from the chair, extended his right hand, and said, "You must be Bingshue's boyfriend." "Hello, I'm Liu Shu, Bingshue's father." "Hello, uncle. Please, sit down," Chu Lingtian said, reaching out to shake Liu Shu's hand. Cough, cough. Liu Shu began coughing weakly, his body clearly very frail. Liu Bingshue quickly helped him sit back on the couch. Liu Shu, now comfortably seated, apologized, "Xiaochu, I'm sorry. At my age, my health isn't the best. Uncle, you'll get better soon." "Don't worry," Chu Lingtian reassured him, sensing that Liu Bingshue and her parents were kind and caring people. "Xiaochu, what do you do for work?" Zhang Ping asked, her curiosity piqued. This was a necessary question when meeting your future son-in-law for the first time. Chu Lingtian replied, "Auntie, uncle, I used to be in the army. I just came back to Dachang City not long ago. I've been an orphan since I was young, no parents." When Zhang Ping and Liu Shu heard this, they exchanged a look. They had two daughters and had always wanted a reliable son-in-law. Chu Lingtian's background seemed to fit perfectly with their ideal. "How did you find life in the army?" Liu Shu asked with some hidden meaning in his words. "The competition in the army is fierce. I didn't have the skills or a strong background, so after a few years, I decided to leave." Chu Lingtian didn't reveal his true identity. He was back in the city on a secret mission, so he couldn't expose his real power or background. "What are you doing now, Xiaochu?" And how much do you earn a month? Zhang Ping continued, her curiosity not satisfied. Also, how did you and Bingxue meet? She asked one question after another. Chu Lingtian paused, thinking about how to answer, when Liu Bingxue cut in, fearing that he would slip up. Mom, Dad, Lingtian bought gifts for you. Liu Bingxue smiled, trying to change the topic. Chu Lingtian came back to his senses. Right, I'll get them now. A moment later, Chu Lingtian returned with the large black plastic bag he had brought from earlier. Liu Bingshue's expression changed immediately. What was going on? Why didn't he bring the gift bags she had bought? Uncle, Auntie, this is a small gift I brought for you. I hope you like it, Chu Lingtian said, handing over the black plastic bag. Zhang Ping eagerly accepted the bag, smiling. You really didn't have to bring gifts, Xiao Chu. Mom, this is what Lingtian should do. You and Dad check if you like the gifts. If you don't, I'll make him buy new ones, Liu Bingxue said, putting on a show of being in love. You're talking nonsense. We'll definitely like the gifts Xiao Chu bought. Zhang Ping started to say, but as she opened the bag and reached in, her expression froze. What she pulled out caused the room to fall silent. Zhang Ping had pulled out a large, black, soft object the size of a man's arm, about 30 centimeters in length. Liu Bingxue stared at Chu Lingtian, her eyes wide with shock. What is this? A donkey's whip. Chu Lingtian answered. Chapter 4, Liu Bingshue's sister is really. Upon hearing Chu Lingtian's words, Zhang Ping was so shocked that she quickly threw the long, jet black, large donkey whip back into the black plastic bag. Liu Bingxue glared at Chu Lingtian, her beautiful face flushed with embarrassment. She angrily said, You idiot. Why did you buy something like this? At that moment, Liu Bingxue deeply regretted not checking what kind of gift this guy had bought for her parents. If she had known, she would never have let Chu Lingtian bring it in to meet her parents. She would have thrown it straight into the trash. Who gives an animal's whip as a gift? And the first time a son-in-law meets his father-in-law and mother-in-law, he gives them a whip. Chu Lingtian took the black plastic bag from Zhang Ping's hands, looking serious as he said, as the ancient saying goes, dragon meat is in the sky, donkey meat is on the ground. This shows how powerful donkey meat is. And the donkey whip is even more powerful, it's a great tonic. Your father and mother, being middle-aged, need to nourish their bodies, so I bought donkey whips, beef whips, lamb whips, and dog whips. Shut up. Liu Bingxue was both embarrassed and angry, and she scolded Chu Lingtian. But Chu Lingtian wasn't afraid of Liu Bingshue's domineering CEO aura. He continued, I'll personally cook these whips, mix them all together and make a nourishing soup. I guarantee your parents will love it and feel full of energy. Snow, you should drink a little too, after all, it's not easy to gather so many whips for a soup. Liu Bingxue shot a fiery glare at Chu Lingtian, thinking, is this guy out of his mind? Last night, she had foolishly given her first time to this stranger, and now she was realizing that not only was he a penniless, powerless loser, but he was also completely insane. Oh my god, this was such a loss. Not only did he not bring the usual gifts like alcohol or cosmetics for meeting her parents, but he actually brought a collection of various animal whips. Chu Lingtian was definitely the first person to do that. Chu Lingtian, seeing the look of pure hatred in Liu Bingshue's eyes, shook his head. He thought to himself that he was doing this for her parents' health, and that's why he had gone to the market to gather all their whips as gifts. Most sons-in-law bring alcohol or cosmetics as gifts for their in-laws, but these items are not beneficial to health. Chu Lingtian came from a family of traditional Chinese medicine practitioners. His grandfather and father were both highly skilled in medicine, and so he learned some techniques from a young age. However, after a family tragedy, he was the only one left. When Liu Bingxue and Zhang Ping spoke on the phone earlier, Chu Lingtian learned that Liu Shu, her father, had been ill for a long time and was showing signs of serious illness. That's when he thought of their great tonics from ancient medical books. For someone who has been sick for a long time and is nearing the end of their illness, their body is extremely weak. The first step is to nourish the body before combining that with treatment. This approach would be effective. Liu Bingxue looked at her parents, whose expression seemed to be turning serious, about to get angry. She was about to plead for Chu Lingtian, but at that moment, her mother, Zhang Ping, spoke up. Zhang Ping suddenly smiled and said to Chu Lingtian, Xiao Chu, you're so thoughtful. Your uncle's health really needs tonics, and I could use some too, to stay healthier. Yes, in ancient times, they said you should eat what you need to nourish, and later research proved it has scientific backing. Liu Shu also gave a approving look to Chu Lingtian. Yes, they even say you should complement form with form, Zhang Ping added, speaking softly and bashfully. Liu Bingxue was stunned and confused. She never expected that her parents would actually like the strange gift of various animal whips. Soon after, Zhang Ping took Liu Bingxue into the kitchen to cook, while Chu Lingtian and Liu Shu played chess. Xiao Chu, this girl, Bingxue, can be a little strong-willed and domineering, but she's not a bad person. She's very kind. You two just need to work things out, and you'll be happy together. Liu Shu, understanding his daughter's personality, moved the chess pieces while smiling at Chu Lingtian. Uncle, don't worry. I will treat Bingxue well. Chu Lingtian understood that Liu Shu, as a father, only wanted his daughter to be happy. Liu Shu nodded, sighing, I don't know how long I can hold on. I just hope I can live long enough to see you two get married. And if possible, I would love to see my grandchild. Uncle, I noticed you were coughing earlier. It seems like there might be something wrong with your lungs. When I was in the army, a military doctor taught me a method to regulate lung health. You can try it, it might help. Chu Lingtian didn't want to reveal his true identity as the commander of a special forces unit, nor did he want anyone to know he had superb medical skills. His family had been destroyed because of an ancient medical book passed down through generations, and though he was lucky enough to escape, he had been trying to investigate the culprits ever since. When Liu Shu heard that there was a way to treat his lung problem, he became excited and asked, really? Yes, you can press your chest, Zhongfu, Shinkang, and Yunmen acupoints 3 times a day morning, noon, and evening. Press each point 10 times. If you do this for a month, you should see good results. Chu Lingtian nodded. Good, I'll definitely follow your advice, Liu Shu said happily. Soon, Zhang Ping and Liu Bingxue finished preparing dinner. Chu Lingtian suggested making a soup with the whips, but Liu Bingxue strongly objected, so he decided to let it go. At the dinner table, Chu Lingtian answered all of Liu Shu and Zhang Ping's questions with ease, and even cracked a few jokes, which surprised Liu Bingxue. After dinner, Chu Lingtian offered to wash the dishes, but was firmly stopped by Zhang Ping and Liu Shu. When Zhang Ping and Liu Bingxue returned from washing the dishes, Chu Lingtian mentioned that it was getting late and he wanted to go home. However, both Liu Shu and Zhang Ping insisted that he stay. Liu Bingxue and Chu Lingtian exchanged a quick glance, as neither of them had expected him to be invited to stay the night. If he stayed, would he sleep alone or with Liu Bingxue? Before Chu Lingtian could refuse, Zhang Ping announced that she was going out to buy something and asked Liu Bingxue and Liu Shu to accompany her. Chu Lingtian watched as Liu Bingxue was pulled out the door by her mother, with Liu Shu following behind them. He thought to himself, Liu Bingxue's parents are really something. Left alone in the living room, Chu Lingtian began flipping through the TV channels. After watching for less than 5 minutes, the door to the villa suddenly opened from the outside. Chu Lingtian turned around and smiled as he teased, What, are you worried that I'll be lonely, so you came back to keep me company? And how did you change clothes so fast? Liu Bingxue walked in, now wearing a super short belly-bearing t-shirt, along with short denim hot pants and black high heels. She looked so sexy it was almost irresistible. She swayed her hips, walked up to Chu Lingtian, her eyes seductive as she lightly parted her red lips, saying, I missed you. Do you miss me? No, wait, you're not Bingxue, who are you? Chu Lingtian frowned, looking at the woman in front of him. She had the same face and height as Liu Bingxue, but her clothing style and seductive demeanor were completely different. Chapter 5 Why are you forcing me? Sister. Brother Lingtian, where did you go just now? Liu Huohuo saw Chu Lingtian coming and almost shouted, brother-in-law, then changed her words in time. Chu Lingtian looked at Liu Huohuo coldly, little goblin, it seems that you are not drunk yet. What is your intention in cheating me like this? I have no grudges against you, do you just want to see me being beaten up? Brother-in-law, you are so strong that you must be better than Daxiong, and if you beat Daxiong, we can make at least 200,000. Liu Huohuo said to Chu Lingtian in a low voice with a look of greed. Chu Lingtian naturally didn't believe Liu Huohuo's nonsense about wanting 200,000 yuan, after all, she has a company with an annual income of tens of millions. Chu Lingtian was hiding on purpose just now. He just didn't want to be tricked by Liu Huohuo, the little goblin, to go on stage to fight. He really had no interest in this kind of boxing match. But just now, seeing Liu Huohuo being defeated by Da Xiong, he might get hurt, might be taken advantage of, or even be taken to a hotel room to sleep tonight. Chu Lingtian couldn't just sit back and watch. Because he had promised Liu Shu, Zhang Ping, and Liu Bingxue that he would send Liu Huohuo home safely tonight. If this little goblin got hurt or was insulted by other men, he would be speaking out of turn. As a soldier who had survived hundreds of battles, a legendary man known as their Death Wolf King by the military, his words were his and he would keep his word. Boy, are you the Lingtian? Da Xiong questioned Chu Lingtian with a fierce look on his face. Before Chu Lingtian could speak, Liu Huohuo grabbed his arm and said loudly and arrogantly, "You all saw it, he is my brother Lingtian, you are just a bear in front of him, and you were beaten back by his punch just now. If you kneel down and beg for mercy now, it's not too late." "Excuse me, everyone, she is drunk, sorry, I will take her down now." Chu Lingtian quickly hugged Liu Huohuo's slender waist with his left hand, covered the sexy flaming red lips of this little fairy with his right hand, and then dragged her to the bottom of the ring. Woo woo. Liu Huohuo twisted her body wildly, and waved her hands and feet desperately, trying to get rid of Chu Lingtian's control, but she was held tightly, and could only make a woo woo sound from her mouth. "Stop!" Da Xiong shouted coldly at Chu Lingtian, and then said arrogantly, "Do you come and go as you please? Without my permission, you two will never leave here safely tonight." "Brother Da Xiong, I'm sorry, my sister is drunk, so she is talking nonsense. I apologize to you on her behalf, please be kind and let us go." Chu Lingtian smiled, he really didn't want to make a move, and he was too lazy to make a move. But good people are bullied, and good horses are ridden. Human nature is to bully the weak and fear the strong. Often the weaker and more humble you are, the more the other party will not stop, but will become more aggressive in wanting to bully you. TSK, it turns out this little girl is a liar. Fuck, I thought this little girl's brother Lingtian was really powerful, but it turns out he's just a coward. Look at this guy called Lingtian, although his height is about the same as Da Xiong, his body size is much different. Da Xiong can probably crush him to death with one hand like a chicken. The men and women in the audience ridiculed Chu Lingtian. At this time, Da Xiong blocked Chu Lingtian's way, pointed at the ground with his right index finger, looked at Chu Lingtian with an extremely arrogant expression, and said domineeringly, "Just now, this little girl agreed to bet with me. Now you lose, so she must stay and sleep with me tonight. As for you, kneel on the ground and kowtow to me 3 times, and call me grandpa 3 times, and I will spare you. Brother Da Xiong, the little girl is ignorant, so don't bother with her. Besides, you are also a well-known figure in Dachang City. You are generous, so let it go." Chu Lingtian continued to smile. "Fuck, little bastard, since you don't accept the toast, don't blame me for not giving you face." Da Xiong rushed forward, grabbed Chu Lingtian's collar with his left hand, raised his right fist high, threatened viciously, ready to go. Chu Lingtian frowned, worried that he might accidentally hurt Liu Huohuo, so he loosened his hands that were holding the little demon. Liu Huohuo saw that Chu Lingtian was grabbed by the collar by Da Xiong, and he did not resist. He looked like a coward and said angrily, "Chu Lingtian, are you still a man? How could my sister find a loser like you? If I were you, I would fight Da Xiong with my life. Brother Da Xiong, we have no grudges, and we don't have to fight each other." Chu Lingtian didn't want to be fooled by Liu Huohuo, the little demon, and said to Da Xiong with a smile. But at this time, Da Xiong was already overwhelmed by his arrogance and expansion. Especially when he thought that after he defeated Chu Lingtian, no one would stop him from enjoying Liu Huohuo's body tonight, he roared more wildly, "Boy, let me tell you the truth. It's not this beauty who provokes me now, but I don't like you and want to beat you up. Whether you accept this boxing match or not, I will beat you up tonight. Forget it. I really don't like fighting." Chu Lingtian's expression was full of embarrassment. "Little bastard, I told you to kneel down and kowtow and call me grandpa 3 times, but you didn't kneel or call me. I told you to fight me but you didn't fight. Are you kidding me? Just for this, I will beat you to pieces." As soon as Da Xiong finished speaking, he punched Chu Lingtian in the face with his right hand. Wow! Chu Lingtian leaned slightly to the right, dodging Da Xiong's fist and breaking free from the restraint of being grabbed by the collar. "Brother Da Xiong, fighting is wrong. It will teach children bad lessons. Let's stop here." Chu Lingtian looked at Da Xiong and said. Da Xiong was shocked. He realized that he might have underestimated Chu Lingtian. This man who looked like a coward could easily dodge his attack. Could he be a hidden master? However, with so many people watching, Daxiong had to go on even if he had to bite the bullet. What's more, he was still confident in himself. HMPH, little bastard, I will use all my strength in this punch. You will definitely not be able to dodge or block it. Swish. Bang. Daxiong rushed towards Chu Lingtian and punched out with his right hand again. The swift fist wind shook the air and made a sound. He did use all his strength. Hey, I really don't want to fight. Why are you forcing me? I just came back. Can't I be quiet for a few more days? Chu Lingtian sighed, shook his head, and casually swung his right fist. Har har, you little bastard, you dare to fight me. It seems that you don't know that I have another nickname called Iron Fist Big Bear. You are finished. When our fists meet, your right hand will be shattered. Big Bear saw Chu Lingtian actually fighting him, and laughed on the spot, saying something cruel, because he didn't feel the speed and power of Chu Lingtian's fist at all. Be careful, get out of the way. Liu Huohuo was also scared and shouted at Chu Lingtian. Bang! But Chu Lingtian and Big Bear's fists had already collided. Crack! The horrible sound of bones being broken sounded. Then, everyone present saw Big Bear's body flying backwards, falling off the ring, and falling heavily to the ground. He didn't even have time to scream before he fainted. Instantly, everyone's eyes were focused on Chu Lingtian. Everyone's eyes were shocked, confused, unbelievable, and even terrified. Chapter 6 Liu Bingxue took the initiative to let Chu Lingtian stay. Silence. At the boxing scene, except for Chu Lingtian, hundreds of men and women were shocked and dumbfounded, and there was silence. No one expected that the scene. They subconsciously believed that Chu Lingtian would be beaten to his knees and begged for mercy by Daxiong with 3 punches and 2 kicks did not appear. Instead, Daxiong, the so-called Iron Fist bar boxing champion, was defeated by Chu Lingtian with just 1 punch. What's going on? Daxiong actually lost. Fuck. This kid named Lingtian actually knocked Daxiong off the ring with 1 punch. Daxiong was not only knocked off the ring with 1 punch, but was also knocked unconscious by the punch. How powerful was this punch? At the boxing match, men and women gradually came to their senses, and their voices were full of horror and disbelief. Chu Lingtian, who was standing on the ring at this time, still had a harmless smile on his face. He looked at the Big Bear who had fainted on the ground below and sighed, "Hey, I told you to spare us. I told you that fighting is wrong and will teach children bad things. Why did you force me to fight?" At this time, the hundreds of men and women present suddenly realized. It turned out that Chu Lingtian was just playing the pig to eat the tiger, hiding his strength. With his strength of beating the Big Bear with 1 punch, let alone a big bear, even 10 big bears would not be his opponent. In fact, for Chu Lingtian, he was not playing the pig to eat the tiger, hiding his strength, but just wanted to keep a low profile and disdain to fight, that's all. If it weren't for the Big Bear's aggressiveness and frequent suicide attempts, which made Chu Lingtian unbearable, he would have left with Liu Huohuo just now. Har har, you all saw it, I didn't lie, Daxiong is just a bear, a piece of trash that can't stand a single blow. Liu Huohuo saw Chu Lingtian defeated Daxiong, and was drunk. She was as happy as a child, dancing and talking loudly to the hundreds of men and women around her. Chu Lingtian didn't want to get involved, so he took Liu Huohuo's hand and left the bar quickly. As soon as he walked out of the bar, the cold wind blew, and Liu Huohuo became more and more drunk. He squatted next to the trash can on the side of the road and vomited. Chu Lingtian shook his head, handed the tissue to Liu Huohuo, and said, "Little goblin, why are you doing this? You want to trick me but can't, and you make yourself like this. It's not worth it. Because I want." Liu Huohuo fell to the ground and fell asleep before he finished his drunken words. Seeing that Liu Huohuo might tell the truth after drinking, and tell why she seduced Chu Lingtian in various ways, and why she cheated Chu Lingtian in various ways, this little demon fell asleep under the stimulation of alcohol. M.Ioter. He waved to stop a taxi on the roadside, and Chu Lingtian carried Liu Huohuo into the back seat of the taxi, and sat in it himself, and returned to the Houting Villa district. At this time, in the boxing arena of Fanyu Bar, the spectators had been dispersed, and the fainted Daxiong was sent to the hospital for treatment. A bald middle-aged man with a fat face, a face full of flesh, and a gold necklace, a gold watch, and a gold ring on his neck, wrists, and fingers, followed by 4 tall and strong thugs in black vests. The bald middle-aged man is the owner of this fine bar, named Jin Sanyuan. He is still very powerful in both the black and white worlds of Dachang City. His subordinates call him Jin Yi. Master Jin, our men didn't catch up with the couple. A subordinate walked quickly to Jin Sanyuan's side and reported in a low voice. Jin Sanyuan took a puff of the cigarette in his hand, his eyes were sinister, and he asked coldly, "How is Daxiong?" Daxiong's entire right arm was shattered, and his internal organs were also injured to varying degrees. The doctor said that he needs to rest for at least half a year, and even if he recovers, he can't go to the ring to fight again. The younger brother replied. Jin Sanyuan's eyes turned cold, with murderous intent in his eyes, and ordered, "Pass the word, you must find this kid called Lingtian for me. He injured Daxiong and made me lose such a cash cow. Either he will work for me instead of Daxiong, or he will compensate me 10 million, otherwise, I will make him disabled for life." Yes. The several subordinates behind him nodded and answered in unison. Haojing Villa. Dong dong dong, Chu Lingtian knocked on the door. The person who opened the door was Zhang Ping. Seeing Chu Lingtian holding Liu Huohuo's waist with his left hand, and Liu Huohuo was already drunk and unconscious, Zhang Ping hurriedly took over to support her, and said distressedly, "How did Huohuo get drunk like this? This little girl has always had a good alcohol tolerance. How much did she drink?" She insisted on drinking that mixed wine called, for C's one family. This kind of wine is easy to get drunk and has a strong after effect. In addition, she may not have eaten anything. Drinking on an empty stomach is more likely to get drunk. After a few glasses of wine, she can't stand it. Chu Lingtian helped Liu Huohuo lie on the sofa temporarily. Liu Bingxue, who heard the noise, also came down from the second floor. "Chu Lingtian, what did you do to my sister? Why is she drunk like this?" Liu Bingxue walked to the sofa, looked at her sister who was sleeping on the sofa, and immediately glared at Chu Lingtian and questioned. Chu Lingtian shrugged his shoulders. "She insisted on fighting me, but she didn't beat me, and I knocked her out." Liu Bingxue was so angry when she heard Chu Lingtian's words that she trembled with anger. She thought to herself, "This stinky hooligan, what does it mean to fight with open mouth and close mouth?" This word, fuck, is a polyphonetic word. You can try to use different pronunciations in what I just said. Chu Lingtian whispered in Liu Bingxue's ear again. "Chu Lingtian." Liu Bingxue was about to get angry, but her father Liu Shu interrupted her. "Okay, you can't blame Lingtian for this. You know what your sister's personality is like since she was a child. She doesn't even listen to us, so how could she listen to Lingtian? She must have done it all by herself to drink like this." Liu Shu was a little angry. He really felt that it was difficult to discipline his little daughter Liu Huohuo. Zhang Ping replied, "Bingxue, come with me to help your sister into her bedroom, then give her a shower and let her have a good sleep and she'll be fine." "Uncle, aunt, I'll go home first," Chu Lingtian said to Liu Shu and Zhang Ping with a smile. But this time, before Liu Shu and Zhang Ping spoke, Liu Bingxue looked at Chu Lingtian with a cold face and said in a deep voice, "Don't leave tonight. Watch TV in the living room first. I'll find you after I wash my sister." R. Chu Lingtian didn't expect Liu Bingxue to take the initiative to let him stay overnight. Originally, the two met by chance. Although they had a fierce battle in the hotel last night, there was no affection between them. Going to bed was indeed just an accident. So as long as Chu Lingtian left the Liu family tonight, his act of pretending to be Liu Bingxue's boyfriend would end, and he and Liu Bingxue's family of four would most likely never meet again. But now Liu Bingxue took the initiative to ask Chu Lingtian to stay. This cold beauty suddenly became so abnormal. What did she want to do? Chapter 7. Entering Liu Bingxue's bedroom and closing the door. "Lingtian, I really trouble you tonight. Although Huohuo looks and is the same height as her sister Bingxue, they are twins, but the personalities of the two sisters are very different." Liu Shu looked at Chu Lingtian and said apologetically. Chu Lingtian smiled slightly. Huohuo's personality is indeed a little outgoing and noisy, but she is still a very kind girl. It's good as long as there is no big problem. At this time, Chu Lingtian also remembered that in the boxing ring, when he felt that the power of Daxiong's punch was too strong and he might be seriously injured if he went head-on, Liu Huohuo also subconsciously screamed to remind him to be careful. This shows that although this little goblin is born with a charming bone, eccentric, and likes to cheat people, she is still very kind-hearted and not a real bad woman. "Alas, we are old, and my illness is getting worse. Our only wish is that the two sisters can live in peace, help each other, and find their other half. In this way, even if their mother and I die in the future, we can smile in the grave. Liu Shu sighed. Chu Lingtian asked, Uncle, are the two sisters Bingxue and were not in harmony? When they were young, they competed in study. Now they each have their own companies and compete for business and annual turnover. Liu Shu looked a little anxious. After all, both daughters were his favorites, and he naturally didn't want to see them not in harmony. Whose company is doing better? Chu Lingtian asked. Huohuo's company is doing better, and has exceeded Bingshue's company's turnover for 3 consecutive years. Liu Shu answered, and looked at Chu Lingtian with some doubts and asked, You and Bingshue are a couple, didn't Bingshue tell you about these situations? I told you a little, but Bingshue is very busy at work every day, and we don't spend much time together. Chu Lingtian said. Cough, cough, cough. Liu Shu suddenly started coughing violently again. Chu Lingtian walked behind Liu Shu, made a fist with his right hand, only extended his thumb, slightly accumulated strength, and then pressed on the 4 acupuncture points of the human body, namely, the Xiongxiang point, Zhongfu point, Shenzan point, and Yunmen point. Soon Liu Shu's coughing stopped. Lingtian, your technique of pressing acupuncture points is very professional. Liu Shu is a doctor who has been ill for so many years, and he has more or less understood medical skills. Chu Lingtian smiled and said, I have only learned a little bit. I told you before that when I was in the army, a highly skilled military doctor taught me some medical skills. It's my fault that I didn't learn well enough. I can't make a living by medical skills after I retired. By the way, I remember that the military doctor also taught me a prescription for treating lung disease. I will write it to you now. Maybe it will be more effective if combined with acupoint massage every day. Okay, great. Liu Shu replied excitedly. Everyone is like this. Only when you get sick, you know that nothing is more important than good health. The desire to recover and get healthy is very urgent. Chu Lingtian took the notebook and pen next to him, and then wrote the prescription for treating Liu Shu's lung disease. Willow sighed. In fact, there was a Chinese medicine family in Dachang City. If this family still existed, my lung disease would definitely be cured. Unfortunately, this family suffered a fire 10 years ago, and everyone was burned to death. Alas, this Chinese medicine family is really a pity. Not only are they highly skilled in medicine, but they are also kind and generous, and often do not charge poor people for medical expenses. By the way, this family is yours, and both have the surname Chu. Chu Lingtian's pen suddenly paused, but he soon continued to write the prescription. He asked casually, how could this Chinese medicine family suddenly encounter a fire? And it was burned to death without even one person surviving. Isn't this too strange? Yes, many people think it's strange, but the police did not find any suspicious clues after investigating the scene. They can only conclude that the Chu family accidentally started the fire and burned everyone in their family to death. Willow frowned, and his expression was full of doubts. The truth will be revealed one day. Chu Lingtian said to himself, and then handed the written prescription to Liu Shu. After reading the prescription written by Chu Lingtian, Liu Shu praised sincerely, Lingtian, your medical skills don't seem to be just a little bit of knowledge, but you have the style of a great doctor. Over the years, I have also experienced many diagnosis and treatment by famous Chinese and Western doctors, and I have more or less some insights on medicine. The prescription you wrote is definitely not something that an ordinary doctor can prescribe. Uncle, I don't know how powerful this prescription is. It was taught to me by the military doctor at that time. He not only taught me the prescription for treating lung diseases, but also the prescription for treating heart, liver, spleen and kidney. I don't understand it very well, and I memorized it by rote. Chu Lingtian smiled awkwardly. He was the only survivor of the Chu family fire tragedy in Dachang City 10 years ago. He has never told anyone this secret. In the past 10 years, he has been trying every possible way to find out the truth about the disaster that befell his family. Was it his family members who accidentally lit the fire and caused the disaster, or was it someone who deliberately set the fire and killed the entire Chu family? In comparison, Chu Lingtian felt that the latter was more likely, because before the fire tragedy, his mother told him that people had been visiting the Chu family recently, all for the ancient medical book that had been passed down for thousands of years. Not long after, the Chu family was burned to ashes. It's a pity that 10 years have passed, and Chu Lingtian has not found any clues. This time when he returned to Dachang City, in addition to the task entrusted by his superiors, he also had one thing to do, which was to continue to investigate the truth of the family tragedy in secret. As long as Chu Lingtian lives one day, he will never stop investigating the truth of the family tragedy. Chu Lingtian, come with me to the bedroom. At this time, Liu Bingxue stood by the railing on the second floor and shouted at Chu Lingtian below the living room. Chu Lingtian came back to his senses and said to Liu Shu with a smile, "Uncle, it's getting late. You should rest early. When you are sick, rest is the best medicine." "Okay, you and Bingxue should go to bed early too." Liu Shu nodded. Chu Lingtian was stunned for a moment. Liu Shu asked him and Liu Bingxue to go to bed early. Are they really going to sleep together again tonight? Last night, they both slept together when they were drunk, but tonight they are both sober. If they sleep together again, they will do it again. Walking into Liu Bingshue's bedroom, Chu Lingtian saw Liu Bingxue sitting by the bed, beautiful, pretty, and fragrant like a painting. Liu Bingxue looked at Chu Lingtian and said, "Close the door." Chu Lingtian turned around and closed the door. Chapter 8. Chu Lingtian and Liu Bingxue got into a fight. "Tell me, did you do anything to my sister just now?" Liu Bingxue sat on the bed, her beautiful legs stacked together, looking even more slender and white. She stared at Chu Lingtian coldly and questioned. Chu Lingtian was not at all intimidated by Liu Bingshue's domineering female president aura, walked to the chair next to him and sat down, crossed his legs, and asked back, "What do you think I will do to your sister?" "Asshole, stop pretending. A hooligan like you who likes to take advantage of others may have seen that my sister was drunk just now, and then molested her all over. Tell me the truth, did you take the opportunity to violate my sister's body just now?" Liu Bingshue's beautiful face was full of anger. "No, and even if I did, would I admit it? You are the president of a company, how can your IQ be so low? Or are you jealous, afraid that I will be too intimate with your sister and don't want you in the future?" Chu Lingtian smiled teasingly. Liu Bingxue stood up from the bed, her long, white and tender legs straight, full of visual temptation. She glared at Chu Lingtian and said, "Chu Lingtian, before coming to our house, I warned you that you and I have no relationship, no feelings, and what happened last night was just an accident. Just pretend that nothing happened, so don't be foolish and think that I will have any feelings for you." "I know." Chu Lingtian shrugged his shoulders and said, "The harmony between the two of us last night was not me taking advantage of your misfortune, but it was a mutual consent between the two of us. I, Chu Lingtian, am not such a despicable and shameless villain. If it were an ordinary woman, I believe you would not take advantage of someone's misfortune, but my sister is naturally charming, sexy and enchanting, especially with a plump and hot figure, and she has been deliberately seducing you." Liu Bingshue's analysis was interrupted by Chu Lingtian before she finished speaking. Chu Lingtian said with a smile, "You two sisters are twins, you look the same, you are the same height, there is no difference between you and your sister, but if I have to choose, I will choose to do both, because adults never make any choices, they want everything." "Asshole." Liu Bingxue didn't expect Chu Lingtian to tease her again, not afraid of her domineering CEO's majesty at all, so angry that she grabbed the little bear pillow next to her and was about to smash it. "Wait a minute." Chu Lingtian stood up from the chair. Suddenly a smirk appeared at the corner of his mouth and said, "Actually, you are quite cute when you are angry, much better than your cold expression, and if you have to let me choose, I will choose to do you. After all, we were husband and wife for one night, as the saying goes, one night of husband and wife, 100 days of grace. Fuck your sister, go to hell." Liu Bingxue was furious, and smashed the little bear pillow in her hand heavily at Chu Lingtian. She has always been an icy beauty. She has many suitors, but almost no man dares to joke with her, for fear of making her angry. She is even more domineering in the company, and a glance can make the employees under her tremble with fear. But Chu Lingtian is just teasing her in various ways, completely ignoring her dignity. "Wow." Chu Lingtian waved his left hand and grabbed the little bear pillow that was thrown at him. He really likes to tease Liu Bingxue, because this icy beauty is really cute when she is angry. "Fuck your sister? So you really want me to fuck Liu Huohuo?" Liu Bingxue saw that Chu Lingtian dared to continue his mouth cannon, and the murderous intent in her cold eyes condensed. She rushed forward directly, raised her right foot upward, and kicked Chu Lingtian's crotch swiftly. Snap! Chu Lingtian threw away the little bear pillow with his left hand, and at the same time easily pinched the ankle of Liu Bingshue's right foot. No matter how hard Liu Bingxue tried, her right foot was firmly grasped by Chu Lingtian, unable to lift it up or retract it. It seems that you and your sister have practiced self-defense, but your kick was too cruel, wasn't it? It gave you an extremely happy feeling last night, and you want to destroy it tonight. You can't be so ruthless. Chu Lingtian shook his head, and after speaking, he lowered his head to look at the middle of his crotch. You let me go. Liu Bingxue was angry and embarrassed now. She didn't expect that her almost sneak attack kick would be stopped by Chu Lingtian. At this time, Liu Bingxue's right foot was held in Chu Lingtian's hand, lifted more than 1 meter above the ground, and her left leg stood on the carpet with one foot, which caused her legs to be spread apart facing Chu Lingtian. When she was washing her sister Liu Huohuo just now, her clothes were wet, so she took a bath and changed into pajamas. So at this moment, Liu Bingxue's posture made the beautiful scenery between her legs flicker in front of Chu Lingtian's eyes. Wow, this black lace underwear tonight is sexier than the one last night. Chu Lingtian grinned. Son of a bitch. I'll kill you. Liu Bingxue said angrily, and at the same time, she twisted her right foot that was grabbed by Chu Lingtian desperately, trying to break free from his control. Chu Lingtian smiled evilly and raised the hand holding Liu Bingxue's right foot. R. Liu Bingxue's legs were immediately spread further apart, and the entire area between her legs was clearly exposed to Chu Lingtian's eyes, no longer as vague as before. So beautiful. For a stunning woman like Liu Bingxue, the scenery under her skirt is really beautiful and mouth-watering. Bang! At this time, the bedroom door was suddenly pushed open from the outside, and Zhang Ping was standing at the door, stunned and asked, "You, what position are you in?" "Mom." Liu Bingxue's beautiful face instantly became more blushing, and she wanted to explain, but was so anxious that she was speechless. Chu Lingtian took advantage of the situation and put down Liu Bingxue's right foot. He held the white and tender sole of her foot with his left hand, and began to rub her ankle gently with his right hand. He looked at Zhang Ping and said with a smile, "Auntie, Bingxue's foot was accidentally twisted just now. I rubbed it for her to reduce the swelling. But you lifted Bingxue's foot so high just now that you could see her inner." Before Zhang Ping finished her words subconsciously, she felt that this was simply too embarrassing. As a mother-in-law, she had already seen her daughter and future son-in-law's intimate behavior twice, including the previous time. She quickly changed the subject. "I just heard Bingxue's cry, so I hurried over to see what happened. It turned out that her foot was twisted. Mom, I'm fine. How is my sister?" Liu Bingxue glared at Chu Lingtian with murderous eyes and retracted her right foot. "Your sister is fine. She has fallen asleep next door. I will sleep with her tonight to take care of her. You and Lingtian should go to bed soon. Remember to keep quiet." Zhang Ping closed the bedroom door for Chu Lingtian and Liu Bingxue again. Especially her sentence, "remember to keep quiet," which was full of ambiguity. "Hey, you, what are you doing?" Liu Bingxue turned her head and saw that Chu Lingtian had actually sat on her bed and started to take off his pants. Chapter 9 Mother-in-Law's Surprise Ward Inspection. "Of course I sleep." Chu Lingtian answered Liu Bingxue while taking off his pants. Who allowed you to sleep with me?" Liu Bingxue asked anxiously. Chu Lingtian took off his outer pants, and faced Liu Bingxue in his underwear, and said helplessly, "It was your mother who asked me to sleep with you. This is called mother's order. Do you understand? Asshole, put on your pants quickly and get out of here immediately." Liu Bingxue's beautiful face blushed, turned her head to the side, did not dare to look at Chu Lingtian, and shouted angrily, "Your mother and your sister are in the next room. It's already 12 o'clock in the evening. If I open the door and go out, your mother will definitely hear the noise immediately. At that time, she will definitely suspect the relationship between you and me. Are you sure you want me to go out now?" Chu Lingtian looked at Liu Bingxue and asked. Liu Bingxue was so angry that she bit her white teeth. She was 100% unwilling to sleep in the same room with Chu Lingtian, but she was helpless at this time. It was Liu Bingxue's idea to find Chu Lingtian to pretend to be her boyfriend. She thought that she would just meet her parents, have a meal, and then Chu Lingtian would find an excuse to leave, and the pretending would end there. She and Chu Lingtian would no longer have any relationship, let alone meet again. This was a very simple thing. But she didn't expect that so many things would happen after Chu Lingtian arrived at the Liu family, and he was seduced by Liu Huohuo. Now Chu Lingtian stayed overnight by mistake, and stayed in Liu Bingxue's bedroom. It was so late, if Liu Bingxue forced Chu Lingtian out of the bedroom, or even out of the house, their relationship would definitely be questioned by their parents. Then the pretending relationship that had not been discovered before might also be exposed, and all the previous efforts would be in vain, and it might even make Zhang Ping cry, and directly anger Liu Shu, who was already seriously ill. Liu Bingxue didn't dare to take such a risk. She could only think about holding on for a few more hours. After tonight, Chu Lingtian would use the excuse of going to work tomorrow morning. As long as she left their Liu family, everything would be fine. If you feel cold sleeping on the carpet, I can give you my quilt. In addition, you must wear clothes and pants for me when sleeping. You are not allowed to take off anything. Taking out a quilt from the closet, Liu Bingxue threw it to Chu Lingtian angrily. I usually like to sleep naked, so I will do it reluctantly tonight. I will not put on the clothes I have taken off, and I will not take off the clothes I have not taken off. Chu Lingtian took the quilt, fell on the carpet and began to sleep. Sleeping on the floor was also a luxury for him before, because many times when he was on a life and death mission, he did not eat or drink for several days and nights, and he did not even dare to take a nap, let alone sleep on the floor. After many years of military career and surviving hundreds of battles, Chu Lingtian's physical fitness has long been as strong as steel, and he will not get sick even if he sleeps on the floor directly. Liu Bingxue, lying on the bed, glanced at Chu Lingtian sleeping on the floor beside her. She wrapped herself tightly with a quilt, and couldn't help thinking anxiously, would this guy suddenly climb onto the bed and force me to do that thing? Last night, the perfect love with Chu Lingtian was an accident. It was done when Liu Bingxue was drunk and not very conscious, so tonight was the first time in her life that she slept in the same room with a strange man. The subconscious worry and sensitivity of a woman were hard to suppress. Dong, dong, dong. Liu Bingxue had just mustered up the courage to turn off the lights when there was a knock on the door outside the bedroom. Bingxue, Lingtian, are you two asleep? Zhang Ping's questioning voice came from outside the door. Liu Bingxue was startled, and hurriedly half sat up, turned on the light, and replied, Mom, we are already asleep, what's the matter? I can't find something. Maybe it fell in your room. I'll come in to look for it. Zhang Ping said. Mom, it's so late, why don't you look for him tomorrow? Liu Bingxue was stunned and quickly refused. During the time when Chu Lingtian and Liu Huohuo went to the bar, Zhang Ping specifically talked to Liu Bingxue. Zhang Ping said that she and Liu Shu were both quite satisfied with Chu Lingtian as their future son-in-law, and Liu Bingxue was also of the right age to get married, so they could find a good day to hold the wedding. At the same time, Zhang Ping also asked Liu Bingxue how far her relationship with Chu Lingtian had developed. In order to avoid her parents' suspicion, Liu Bingxue said that she and Chu Lingtian had already been in perfect harmony. So once a lie was told, she would need to find a way to make it up at any time. Just now, Liu Bingxue didn't dare to really drive Chu Lingtian out of the house, just as she was afraid that her mother Zhang Ping would come in and see that she and Chu Lingtian didn't sleep in the same bed. How could a couple who had done that kind of thing with men and women drive their partner out of the house in the middle of the night? How could they share a room but not a bed? No, I need it urgently, I'm coming in. While speaking, Zhang Ping had already turned the door handle. In fact, Zhang Ping used the excuse of going into the room to find something because she had some doubts about the true relationship between her daughter Liu Bingxue and Chu Lingtian. After all, Liu Bingxue had not had a boyfriend for so many years. There were so many outstanding men pursuing her, but she didn't even like any of them. How could she suddenly have a boyfriend named Chu Lingtian? And just when Zhang Ping was taking care of Liu Huohuo alone, Liu Huohuo, the little goblin, kept talking drunkenly, saying that he was a liar and that their relationship was fake. This made Zhang Ping even more suspicious, so she suddenly wanted to verify whether her daughter Liu Bingxue and Chu Lingtian were really in a relationship. Seeing that the fake thing was about to be exposed, the door had been opened a crack by her mother Zhang Ping, and Liu Bingxue couldn't help but scream. Wow! Suddenly, Liu Bingxue's eyes went dark. When she looked again, Chu Lingtian had already climbed onto the bed with the quilt from the ground, pressing on her body. The squeezing feeling on her chest was very full and full. Oh, you knew I was coming in, but you still did it. Young people are really impulsive and reckless. Forget it, I'll come to find you tomorrow. You guys go to bed early and don't toss too long. As soon as Zhang Ping entered the room, she saw Chu Lingtian pressing on her daughter Liu Bingxue. She immediately turned her head and said awkwardly, then turned around and walked out again, closing the door. Asshole, my mom is gone, get down quickly. Liu Bingshua's pretty face blushed, her beautiful eyes stared at Chu Lingtian, and she said coldly with shame and anger. You women are fickle animals, and you change your face faster than turning a book. Why didn't you move when you were afraid of being exposed just now, and why didn't you tell me to get down? Chu Lingtian said unhappily while preparing to get out of bed. But Liu Bingshua said again, I told you to get off me, not to get out of bed. What do you mean? Chu Lingtian looked at Liu Bingshua with a suspicious expression, and a wicked smile appeared unconsciously at the corner of his mouth. Chapter 10 This night. It is obvious that my mother still has some doubts about whether our relationship is real, otherwise she would not have come in to take a look just now. In order to prevent her from suddenly doing something later, we will sleep in the same bed tonight. You will leave after dawn, and everything between us will be over. Liu Bingshua frowned and said coldly. Chu Lingtian shook his head, no, I'd better sleep on the carpet. Asshole, if my mother finds an excuse to come into the room and sees that we are sleeping in separate beds, then our pretending to be a couple will definitely be exposed. Liu Bingshua said angrily. Chu Lingtian shrugged his shoulders and chuckled. You have been saying that there is no relationship between us, no feelings, and the intimate interaction last night was just an accident. Just pretend that nothing happened. If that's the case, how can two strangers like us sleep in the same bed? What if our hands touch, our feet touch, and our buttocks touch, and you scream and scold me again? I can't stand it. You did it on purpose, didn't you? Liu Bingshua was so angry that her chest trembled, and she said again, you said before that you would fully cooperate with me. Is this your full cooperation? I did say that I would fully cooperate with you to play the role of pretending to be a boyfriend, but I am also a man with a bottom line. It is impossible for me to take off my pants if you ask me to, and I won't take them off if you tell me not to. Chu Lingtian responded calmly. Liu Bingshua saw that Chu Lingtian was doing this on purpose. She bit her lips with her white teeth and asked with great anger, are you going to sleep in the same bed with me or not? Just now you didn't want me to sleep in the same bed with you, and now you want me to sleep in the same bed with you. Do you want it or not? Chu Lingtian asked back with an expression that he really didn't understand Liu Bingshua. I want it. Liu Bingshua answered subconsciously. Chu Lingtian grinned, what did you say? I didn't hear clearly. I said. I want it, I want it, I want it, I want it, okay, are you satisfied now? As soon as Liu Bingshua finished speaking, she threw the pillow at Chu Lingtian fiercely, her charming face full of anger. A stunning woman, telling a man. She wants it, she wants it, she wants it, this full of erotic flavor, fragrant reverie, really makes people excited and comfortable all over. Chu Lingtian said with a wicked smile, just now you didn't want me to sleep, and now you beg me to sleep. If you had known this, why did you do it just now? Wait a minute. Liu Bingshua saw Chu Lingtian fall down and fall asleep on the bed, and said angrily. Chu Lingtian asked, what's wrong? Liu Bingshua did not answer Chu Lingtian's question immediately, but quickly threw a quilt into the closet next to her, and then pressed various plush toys in the middle of the remaining quilt, and then said with a serious face, we sleep on one side each, and no one is allowed to cross these toys in the middle. Okay. Chu Lingtian nodded, and then his body went down into the quilt. The side he was sleeping on was the one Liu Bingshua had just slept on, and the body temperature and body fragrance of this stunning iceberg beauty remained. He smiled and said, so warm, so fragrant. Rogue. Liu Bingshua glared at Chu Lingtian fiercely with her beautiful eyes, and her face was slightly blushing with acute shame, and then her delicate body also got into the quilt. Although there were some stuffed toys between the two people, the bed was only this big. Sleeping on the same bed and covered with the same quilt, they could feel the temperature and breath of each other's body. At this time, Chu Lingtian felt that something seemed to be pressing on his back. He subconsciously pulled the thing out with his right hand. When he looked at it in front of him, he and Liu Bingshua were both stunned instantly. Because what Chu Lingtian pulled out from behind was actually a black female thong underwear, which was a small piece in the front and a line in the back. Especially the small piece of black cloth in the front, which was lace and mesh, was simply so sexy. Bingshua, your underwear fell off. Chu Lingtian came back to his senses, with a lewd smile on his face, and handed the thong in his hand to Liu Bingshua. Liu Bingshua's beautiful face blushed with shame, and shook her head and said, this is not mine. It's not yours. It's on your bed, how can it not be yours? Chu Lingtian's expression clearly did not believe Liu Bingshua's words. This is really not mine. I never wear such revealing and sexy tights. I remember that Huohuo said she wanted to give me a pair of underwear before, but I refused. She must have put it on my bed quietly. Liu Bingshua remembered that her sister Liu Huohuo said a few days ago that she wanted to give her a pair of beautiful underwear, but Liu Bingshua immediately refused at that time, because she knew her little fairy sister, and the gift must be different from what she said. Chu Lingtian looked at the thong in his right hand, admired it, and said, "This thing is very suitable for the character of Liu Huohuo, the little fairy. Let alone wearing such sexy clothes, it would not be surprising even if she didn't wear it." Asshole, stop looking. Liu Bingshua took the thong from Chu Lingtian's hand, and quickly put it into her special drawer for underwear and panties. It seems that you like this thong very much. Women wear sexy clothes not only for men to see, but also for themselves to appreciate their own beauty. It's good. Don't be shy. Chu Lingtian smiled and looked at Liu Bingshua's shy and angry expression, and thought it was really cute. Get lost. Liu Bingshua cursed angrily, then turned sideways and turned her back to Chu Lingtian. Chu Lingtian smiled mischievously and went to sleep. The next day, in the morning, Chu Lingtian felt that Liu Bingshua beside him moved, and he quietly opened his eyes a little to see what this stunning beauty was going to do. Liu Bingshua got up quietly, then took out a pure white t-shirt and a pair of denim shorts from the closet, and walked into the bathroom. Through the frosted glass of the bathroom, Chu Lingtian saw Liu Bingshua taking off her clothes and putting on her clothes. Liu Bingshua and Liu Huohuo, the twin sisters, are really beautiful as fairies, tall and plump. Such stunning beauties are rare. Anyone who sees them will love them and want to possess them. When Liu Bingshua finished washing, changed her clothes and came out of the bathroom, Chu Lingtian had already gotten up and put on his clothes. The two wanted to say something to each other, but neither of them opened their mouths yet. Dong dong dong. At this time, someone knocked on the bedroom door, and the voice of Liu Huohuo, the little goblin, came in from outside the door. Sister, brother-in-law, are you up? The sun is shining on your buttocks, stop playing, it's time to get up. Chapter 11 Liu Huohuo's Nightclub Bombing Pants. This is your reward for sending my sister home safely last night. When you go out, just say you have to go to work. We will never meet again. Liu Bingshua handed Chu Lingtian another 10,000 yuan in cash, said coldly, and then walked over to open the bedroom door. Chu Lingtian smiled indifferently and put the 10,000 yuan in cash into his trouser pocket. Although he was the captain of the wolf warriors and a legendary man known as their Death Wolf King, he was really short of money after returning to the city. There are 3 reasons why he has no money. First, his monthly salary is used to subsidize the families of those sacrificed soldiers. Second, he also anonymously sponsored some poor students. Third, when he left the army, his superiors wanted to give him a sum of money as activity funds for returning home to perform tasks, but he refused. He believed that with his own strength, it would be no problem to earn some living expenses, and he hoped to use the money for the soldiers who needed it more. What Chu Lingtian didn't expect was that after returning to the city, the first 2 sums of money he earned were all given to him by Liu Bingshua, a total of 20,000 yuan. However, Chu Lingtian had survived many battles and had survived the brink of death many times in the bloody killings of gunfire and rain of bullets, so he really didn't have much desire for money and power. It didn't matter whether he had something to eat and a place to sleep, good or bad, that was enough. Sister, you and my brother-in-law got up late enough. Did you two play until late last night? Liu Huohuo stood at the door with a foxy smirk on her face, looked at Liu Bingshua in front of her, and then stared at Chu Lingtian in the house. Liu Bingshua stared at Liu Huohuo with her beautiful eyes and asked, "Are you still drunk now?" "It's okay. With my watery body, no matter how drunk I was the night before, I can be passionate in bed the next day." While Liu Huohuo was speaking, he looked at Chu Lingtian who was putting on his shoes in the house, and walked towards the house. Liu Bingshua stopped Liu Huohuo, "What are you doing?" "Of course I'm going in to thank my brother-in-law Lingtian. If he hadn't sent me home last night, I might have been picked up by other men and taken to the hotel." Liu Huohuo, this little fairy, is really unrestrained in her words and deeds. Without any concealment. This is caused by personality and thinking. For example, when it comes to big breasts, some women will wear all kinds of sexy underwear and outer clothes to show off their proud things to the utmost, because they think this is a kind of beauty, and beauty needs more people to see and appreciate it, while some women are very shy and try their best to cover up their big breasts. The more conservative the clothes they wear, the better. What kind of pants are you wearing? Go change. Liu Bingxue looked at the pants Liu Huohuo was wearing and said in a cold and deep voice. Chu Lingtian also saw at this time that the outer pants Liu Huohuo, this little fairy, was wearing were completely the shape of underwear, which was simply too tempting. Liu Huohuo smiled and said, "Sister, this is why you are behind. The pants I am wearing are the most popular in foreign countries recently. They are called nightclub pants. If you wear such pants to nightclubs, countless handsome guys will be so excited that they will come to flirt with you. How about I buy you a pair?" "No." Liu Bingxue refused with a cold face, and then said sternly, "Chu Lingtian is my boyfriend. We are not married yet, so don't call him brother-in-law. Then I will still call him brother Lingtian. However, sister, since we are not married, we are still free. If I like him too." Liu Huohuo was interrupted by Liu Bingxue before she finished speaking. Liu Bingxue said angrily, "If you think you have the ability to snatch Chu Lingtian away from me, you can try it." "Okay. Let's try it." Liu Huohuo showed a playful smile at the corner of his mouth and continued to walk into the bedroom. "I said, you are not allowed to enter my bedroom unless you change your pants," Liu Bingxue said, looking directly at Liu Huohuo's face. Liu Huohuo sneered, then replied, "If you don't want to enter, then don't enter. You don't like to see me wearing these pants, but there are always people who like to see it, right, brother Lingtian?" While speaking, Liu Huohuo deliberately looked at Chu Lingtian in the room and laughed roguely. "Liu Huohuo, have you had enough of making trouble? What do you want to do?" Liu Bingxue's eyes widened with anger, and she glared at her sister Liu Huohuo and asked. "Nothing, just do whatever you want." Liu Huohuo shrugged her shoulders, threw a wink at Chu Lingtian in the room, then turned around, twisted her waist and hips, and went downstairs happily. Chu Lingtian walked behind Liu Bingxue and said with a smile, "Your sister is really. After you leave, we will never contact or meet again, and you are not allowed to see my family again, especially my sister." Liu Bingxue interrupted Chu Lingtian, with the aura of a cold and domineering female president. "Boss Liu, I am not an employee of your company. It is useless for you to give me orders. Even if I am an employee under you, it is just a job at most. I can't obey you." Chu Lingtian smiled faintly and walked out of the bedroom. Liu Bingxue looked at Chu Lingtian's back, a little dazed, as if Chu Lingtian's words just now touched her, the always strong, cold and domineering female president, deeply in her heart, because no one had ever dared to say that to her before. However, Liu Bingxue's emotion soon disappeared. She said to herself with contempt, "What's so great about a man like you, Chu Lingtian, who can't even take out 87 yuan, giving various animal whips as gifts to his parents-in-law for the first time? What strength and qualifications do you have to show off in front of me? I don't know what you mean." At this time, Chu Lingtian came to the lobby on the first floor. He didn't see Liu Shu and Zhang Ping, but only saw Liu Huohuo, who was still wearing nightclub pants. This little goblin was sitting in the restaurant next to him and eating breakfast. Chu Lingtian didn't say hello to Liu Huohuo and was ready to leave directly. "Don't you want to come and have some breakfast?" Liu Huohuo asked. "No, I have to rush to work at the company. If I don't leave now, I will be late." Chu Lingtian answered that since Liu Bingxue didn't like him, he had nothing to miss. The Death Wolf King, a tough guy, couldn't kneel down and lick any woman. But at this moment, Liu Huohuo suddenly rushed to Chu Lingtian, holding a big banana in her hand, narrowing her eyes and questioning. "Tell me, did you take advantage of me being drunk last night and do something obscene to my body? If you don't tell me clearly, don't think about going anywhere today." Chapter 12. I thought we would never see each other again, but I didn't expect to see you again so soon. After you got drunk last night, I took you home, and nothing happened between us. Chu Lingtian looked at Liu Huohuo and said. Liu Huohuo showed a foxy smile on her pretty face, opened her red lips slightly, and whispered, "Just tell me the truth, what did you do when I was drunk last night?" "I really didn't do it." Chu Lingtian had no expression on his face. "Impossible, you must have done me a lot last night, so you dare not admit it." Liu Huohuo raised her charming face, very cute and moving. Chu Lingtian smiled and shook his head. "I am a man with normal sexual orientation. I love beautiful women, but I never do things that take advantage of others." "Did you really not take advantage of me last night when I was drunk?" Liu Huohuo frowned and stared at Chu Lingtian's face with her beautiful eyes. No, absolutely not, I can swear to heaven. Chu Lingtian answered decisively. Wu. You are too much, you are really too much, Wu Tilder. Liu Huohuo suddenly cried. Chu Lingtian was a little confused and asked subconsciously, Little goblin, what do you mean by this? What do you mean? You insulted me. Liu Huohuo said angrily. Chu Lingtian asked depressedly, when did I insult you? I, Liu Huohuo, am a famous beauty in the business world of Dachang City. I don't know how many men want to kneel down and lick me and covered my body, but you, when I was drunk, did nothing to me. What do you mean? Do you think I am ugly and that my figure is not plump enough? You look down on me so much, what else is it if not an insult to me? Liu Huohuo questioned Chu Lingtian repeatedly. I will. Chu Lingtian was sworn at Liu Huohuo's questioning. What kind of perverted logic does this little goblin have? You want to do it now? It's too late. Who told you not to cherish the opportunity last night? To be honest, you really disappoint me. A woman with such a beautiful face, such a plump figure, and such a coquettish temperament was drunk in front of you. You could have played with her casually, but you didn't play with her. Are you a man? Liu Huohuo scolded Chu Lingtian while tearing off the banana peel with both hands. Little goblin, your logic is too abnormal. Do you want to be messed around by men after you get drunk? Chu Lingtian didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Humph, Chu Lingtian, I'll remember you. You insulted me last night, so just wait for my revenge. Let's see. Liu Huohuo swallowed a whole banana in one gulp while speaking, which made Chu Lingtian a little excited. Seeing Liu Huohuo twisting her waist and hips, turning around and walking into their house, Chu Lingtian smiled and left the Liu family villa. Liu Bingxue and Liu Huohuo, this pair of beautiful twin sisters, are really interesting, but it's a pity that they will never meet again. Chu Lingtian thought to himself, took out a cigarette, lit it, and walked out of the gate of the villa area while smoking. Ding! At this time, Chu Lingtian's cell phone rang. He took it out and saw that it was a short message from his superior in the military. Lingtian, the task to be completed this time is very complicated. It will take 1 year at the shortest and 3 years at the longest. You need to hide in the city. In order for you to better hide your true identity, we decided to let you apply for a security guard position at Baoshua Company. Yes. Chu Lingtian replied with one word. It was his dream to have so much time back in Dachang City. After all, it takes time not only to complete this arduous task, but also to investigate the truth of the family fire tragedy. The interview time of Baoshua Company is 3:30 in the afternoon. Chu Lingtian took the 20,000 yuan given to him by Liu Bingxue and came to the community not far from his former Chu family and rented a 1-bedroom and 1-living-room house. The former Chu family mansion had long been burned into ruins in the fire, leaving only black ruins. M.Iota. After cleaning the rental house and buying some necessities for life, Chu Lingtian went to Baoshua Company to attend the interview for the security guard position. Hello, I'm here to attend the interview for the security guard position. Chu Lingtian walked into the door of Baoshua Company and came to a female staff member at the front desk of the lobby and said, Okay, please follow me to meet our president. The female staff member nodded. Chu Lingtian smiled and said, I'm just here to apply for a security guard position. Do I have to meet your president? Generally, the recruitment of grassroots employees in a company is done by the Human Resources Department, but our company is different. The president is more rigorous and serious. Before every new employee is recruited into the company, he must first be interviewed by the president himself, then by the Human Resources Department, and finally the opinions of the president and the Human Resources Department are combined. If they all think it's good, they will be hired into our company. The female staff member responded. Your president is quite strict. Chu Lingtian said casually. The female staff glared at Chu Lingtian, and then kindly reminded him, Don't talk nonsense, otherwise you will never be able to enter our company. Thank you, beautiful lady. Chu Lingtian nodded. This female staff member is indeed very cute, and her figure is relatively tall and plump. Following this beautiful staff member, Chu Lingtian came to the 8th floor of the building. Walking to the door with the 5 words, President's Office, the beautiful staff member looked at a workstation next to it. On this position, there sat a young and beautiful woman wearing a professional female suit on the upper body, a miniskirt on the lower body, black stockings, and long and straight legs. Secretary Chin, I will take him in for an interview with the president. the female staff member said with a smile. This beautiful woman called Secretary Chin did not even raise her head, and continued to do her nails, and said coldly, "Go." "Okay." The female staff member responded cautiously. Chu Lingtian glanced at this Secretary Chin and knew why she was so arrogant. There are two types of people around any big boss that cannot be ignored. The first type is the secretary, and the second type is the driver. Because these two types of people are in the closest contact with the big boss every day, they will naturally become the ones who know the big boss's secrets the most and know the big boss's thoughts and decisions at the first time. If they are not the big boss's confidants and trustworthy people, it is absolutely impossible for them to take on such a position. Dong dong dong. The female staff knocked on the door of the president's office. "Come in." A woman's cold voice came from inside the door. Chu Lingtian frowned, he felt a little familiar. "Wow." The female staff pushed open the door. Chu Lingtian saw at a glance that the person sitting at the desk in the room was Liu Bingxue. Chapter 13. Will Liu Bingxue keep Chu Lingtian? A chance encounter with Liu Bingxue, a night of passion. Then he went to Liu's house and pretended to be Liu Bingxue's boyfriend. He met her parents and her coquettish twin sister Liu Huohuo. Chu Lingtian thought that the twin sisters, including their parents, were quite interesting. But Liu Bingxue didn't like him. She always resented this strange man for taking her virginity as a woman, and even looked down on him. Therefore, Liu Bingxue repeatedly emphasized that their one-night stand was just an accident, and there was no love or relationship between them. She only hoped that after Chu Lingtian successfully impersonated her boyfriend, he would quickly leave the Liu family and they would never see each other again. Chu Lingtian did not force it and left in a cool manner. As the captain of the Wolf Warriors, he was a legendary man known in the military as the Wolf King of Death. After surviving hundreds of battles, his will had long been forged as strong as steel. There were very few things that could shake his mind, not to mention that they had only been together for 2 days, so he had no feelings for Liu Bingxue. Originally, Chu Lingtian also thought that after this separation with Liu Bingxue, in the vast sea of people, it would be difficult for the two to meet again, and they were really just a chance encounter. But he never expected that in less than half a day, Chu Lingtian met Liu Bingxue again. The president of the company where he was applying for the security job was actually Liu Bingxue. "Boss Liu, I'd brought the person who applied for the security guard position here." The beautiful staff member walked to a position 2 meters away from Liu Bingxue, stopped, and spoke respectfully in a low voice. Liu Bingxue was looking down at a document in her hand. She didn't know that the person applying for the security guard position was Chu Lingtian. She responded calmly, "You go down, and the applicant stay." "Yes." The beautiful staff member walked out of the office and closed the door. Only Chu Lingtian and Liu Bingxue were left in the office. Liu Bingxue still looked down at the documents in her hands and did not immediately look at Chu Lingtian for the interview. Chu Lingtian smiled, then picked up a chair from the side, sat opposite Liu Bingxue, and crossed his legs. Liu Bingxue frowned, with the domineering aura of a cold and beautiful female CEO. She didn't even raise her head, didn't even look at Chu Lingtian, and scolded, "People like you who don't know etiquette and have no sense of superiors and subordinates are not worthy of entering my. You can leave now because you didn't pass the interview. From the time I came in until now, you haven't even looked at me. It seems that you are the one who doesn't know etiquette the most." Chu Lingtian smiled calmly and retorted. Liu Bingxue was stunned. She recognized Chu Lingtian's voice and immediately looked up. She asked with a shocked expression, "Why is it you? Why can't it be me?" Chu Lingtian asked back, and then said, "I just retired from the army and returned to Dachang City. I have to find a job to earn money to eat." "Huh, I didn't expect that we would meet again in this way so soon. Do you think I will allow you to work as a security guard in my company?" Liu Bingxue snorted coldly, and the look in her beautiful eyes showed disdain for Chu Lingtian, and her attitude was even more condescending when she asked. Chu Lingtian replied decisively, "You will. Har har, you really have no self-awareness. Can't you see that I don't like you? What we did in the hotel that night was voluntary, but I hate you, resent you, and I regret it very much in my heart, so I will never let you come to work in my company." Liu Bingxue sneered, her tone very affirmative. "Okay, then I'll go to your sister Liu Huohuo's company and apply for the security guard position. I believe that this little goblin is so interested in me that she will definitely agree. She might even let me be her personal male secretary." And if one day I accidentally tell them that you asked me to pretend to be your boyfriend, with Liu Huohuo's personality, she will definitely tell your parents the first time. By then, your situation at home will probably be very difficult. Chu Lingtian smiled playfully. It's not that he has to be a security guard in Liu Bingshue's company, nor is it that he can't find other jobs, but he wants to tease this icy beauty Liu Bingshue. She is really cute when she is angry. Besides, no one can be so arrogant in front of him, the Wolf King of Death. Liu Bingshue didn't expect that she would be controlled by Chu Lingtian's words. She said angrily, I am the president of this company. I am the one who makes the final decision. You are just applying for a job. Even if you are successful, you are just an employee under me. Please clarify your identity and status first. As you said, the company's leaders should. Subordinates can do whatever they want. Do you mean that as long as you have money and power, you can do whatever you want? Wouldn't those supreme rulers in that country be lawless and do whatever they want, bullying and killing ordinary people at will? What's the point of ordinary people living around the world? M.Iota. Chu Lingtian was not afraid of Liu Bingshue's cold and domineering aura of a female president, and questioned her repeatedly. That's not what I meant. Then what you said is correct. If subordinates don't obey the orders of their superiors, and there is no sense of superiority and courtesy in all walks of life, will the world be a better place? I believe it will only become more chaotic. Liu Bingshue responded coldly. Chu Lingtian also said in a cold voice, but you give me the feeling that just because you are rich, powerful, and have authority, you can be high and mighty and do whatever you want. Isn't this how society is? Isn't this how the world is? Liu Bingshue questioned. In today's society, it is true that those who are rich, powerful, and influential tend to be arrogant and domineering, but not everyone is like this. And if others act this way, should we be like this too? Is this the mature thought and behavior that an adult should have? Chu Lingtian also questioned back. Bang! Liu Bingshue slapped the desk hard, stood up from the sofa, glared at Chu Lingtian with her beautiful eyes, and said, Chu Lingtian, what strength and qualifications do you have to lecture me? How can you conclude that I don't have the ability? Chu Lingtian smiled and asked back. You don't even have $87 on you, and you want to come to my company to apply for a security guard position. Liu Bingshue did not hide her ridicule towards Chu Lingtian. Chu Lingtian also stood up from his chair, looked directly at Liu Bingshue, and asked, Stop talking nonsense, just tell me, do you want me to join your company? Asshole, are you applying for me, or am I applying for you? I'm afraid there's no other applicant as arrogant as you in the whole world. Liu Bingshue was so angry that her chest was shaking. It doesn't matter. If you don't want me, I'll go find your sister Liu Huohuo. She will definitely want me, and maybe even fall in love with me. Chu Lingtian shrugged his shoulders, looked indifferent, and turned away. Liu Bingshue looked at Chu Lingtian's back and shouted angrily, Stop right there. Chapter 14 successfully entered Liu Bingshue's company to work. What? Are you trying to ask me to stay and work in your company? Chu Lingtian turned around, looked at Liu Bingshue with a teasing and playful smile on his face and asked. Liu Bingshue was so angry that her chest was shaking and her body was trembling slightly, but she was really controlled by Chu Lingtian's words just now. She thought that if Chu Lingtian really went to work in his sister Liu Huohuo's company, it was very likely that something big would happen. Her sister Liu Huohuo, her mother Zhang Ping, and her father Liu Shu, all didn't know that Chu Lingtian was pretending to be her, Liu Bingshue's boyfriend. Especially the younger sister Liu Huohuo, since she met Chu Lingtian, she has been twisting her waist and hips, making seductive poses. No one knows what this little goblin is thinking or what she wants to do. She is so interested in her sister's boyfriend. What if my younger sister is ignorant and really goes to bed with Chu Lingtian and does something intimate with him? What will happen then? Wouldn't it be true that these beautiful twin sisters would all fall into the hands of this powerless man? Instead of releasing this time bomb, it is better to keep it by yourself, at least you can control it a little, or try to find ways to reduce the damage in advance when it is about to explode. Thinking of this, Liu Bingshue looked at Chu Lingtian and said coldly, You have passed the interview. You will go through the entry procedures this afternoon and start working officially tomorrow. So easy. Didn't I hear that after your interview, the company's HR department will interview me again, and you will need to gather their opinions before you can make a final decision? Chu Lingtian asked with a surprised expression. You don't have to attend the interview at the HR department. You can go directly to the HR department to complete the entry procedures now, I said. Liu Bingxue stared at Chu Lingtian with an unhappy look. No, I don't like special treatment. Chu Lingtian shook his head. Asshole, don't act like a good kid after getting an advantage here. Liu Bingxue was angry, staring at Chu Lingtian fiercely with her beautiful eyes, and said sternly, You can come to work in my company, but you must abide by the company's regulations and obey the arrangements of your superiors. I am a very reasonable person. I will definitely listen to reasonable regulations and arrangements. Chu Lingtian nodded. Liu Bingxue reminded again in a delicate voice, The relationship between you and me must not be known to anyone in the company. My relationship with you? What is our relationship? Relationship? Are we in a relationship? Oh, you mean the intense sex we had on the bed in the hotel room that night? Don't worry, I will never tell anyone, let alone tell others that you were the one who took the initiative. Chu Lingtian grinned. You'd better remember what I told you, otherwise I will never let you go. Liu Bingxue couldn't think of a good way to deal with Chu Lingtian for a while, so she could only hold back her anger at being manipulated by this guy, then pressed the intercom button on the landline phone in the house and said, Qin Li, come in for a moment. Soon the office door was pushed open from the outside, and the young and beautiful secretary Qin, whom Chu Lingtian had just met at the door, walked in. Her name was Qin Li. Boss Liu, what do you want? Qin Li walked up to Liu Bingxue and asked respectfully. Liu Bingxue pointed at Chu Lingtian with her right hand and said, Take him to the Human Resources Department to go through the employment formalities and work as a security guard. Tell the person in charge of the Human Resources Department that I gave special approval. Okay. Qin Li glanced at Chu Lingtian, a strange look in her eyes, and nodded in response. Liu Bingxue added, He was introduced by an old classmate of mine, that's all. Understood. Qin Li nodded. The sentence Liu Bingxue added later was meant to tell Qin Li that although Chu Lingtian could become the company's security guard without going through an interview with the HR department, he had no special relationship with me, so there was no need to take special care of him and just treat him normally. Then Chu Lingtian followed Qin Li and walked towards the work area of the Human Resources Department. In terms of face, although Qin Li is not as pretty as Liu Bingxue, she is definitely beautiful. She is over 1.7 meters tall, has a plump figure, a big and perky butt, and the feminine charm she exudes is very sexy and attractive. May I have your name? After they walked into the elevator, when only Chu Lingtian and Qin Li were left, Qin Li looked at Chu Lingtian and asked. Chu Lingtian. Chu Lingtian replied. You are the first person to be hired in this way in our Baoshua company. It seems that your friend has a close relationship with our CEO Liu. Qin Li said with a smile. Chu Lingtian knew that Qin Li was testing him, so he replied with a confused look on his face, I don't know, anyway, I'm going to. This is the first time we meet Mr. Liu. Oh. Qin Li nodded and said nothing more. She is Liu Bingshue's secretary and is always with the company's top leader. Even the directors of various departments have to be polite to her. Chu Lingtian, who is considered the lowest level security guard among the company's employees, is unlikely to be taken seriously by Qin Li. After arriving at the Human Resources Department, Qin Li found the director Yang Wei, explained the situation, and left alone. Yang Wei randomly assigned one of his subordinates to complete the entry procedures for Chu Lingtian. Before Chu Lingtian, there was another girl who was also going through the employment procedures. This girl was pure and beautiful, tall, and well developed, but her temperament still had the youthfulness of a little girl. Wu Xiaoyan, your employment formalities have been completed. You will officially start work tomorrow. The internship period is 3 months. A male employee from the Human Resources Department, with a pointed face and monkey cheeks, handed the stamped form and ID card to the pretty girl named Wu Xiaoyan. Thanks. Wu Xiaoyan took the information handed over by the male employee with both hands. But the male employee took the opportunity to suddenly touch Wu Xiaoyan's hand in an obscene manner. Wu Xiaoyan was a female student who had just graduated from college and was looking for a job. She was so frightened that she screamed, and her innocent and lovely face instantly turned red with shame. Crash! Several personal data sheets and ID cards fell to the ground. Wu Xiaoyan hurriedly squatted down to pick it up, but as soon as her hand touched her ID card, it was grabbed by the male employee again. What are you doing? Wu Xiaoyan was anxious and embarrassed. She asked angrily while trying hard to take her hand back. Little girl, as long as you obey me and sleep with me, I will guarantee that you will be promoted to a regular employee within a month, and you will be able to rise to great heights in the company in the future." The male employee stared at Guo Xiaoyan's full breasts with lustful eyes and smiled obscenely. "Let me go, let me go." Guo Xiaoyan struggled hard, but she was just a little girl and her strength was nowhere near that of an adult man. She couldn't get rid of him at all. She was so anxious that her beautiful eyes turned red and she was about to cry. At this moment, a foot suddenly stretched out from the side and kicked the male employee on the head. Bang! "Mi." The wretched male employee was kicked to the ground, grimacing in pain, looking around the room with vicious eyes, and roared, Who the hell hit me?" Chapter 15, Pretty Girl Guo Xiaoyan. Love between men and women is like a perfect union, and it all depends on mutual consent. The girl is so repulsive to you, and you still want to force her to do it. This is too despicable and shameless. It really brings shame to us men. Chu Lingtian put his hands in his trouser pockets, a half-burned cigarette in his mouth, and looked at the wretched male employee lying on the ground with contempt. "Fuck, do you know who I am? I am Zhang Dao, the director of the Human Resources Department. Who the hell do you think you are? How dare you teach me a lesson?" The wretched male employee was named Zhang Dao, the director of the Human Resources Department. He got up from the ground, pointed his finger at Chu Lingtian's nose and continued to curse. "You little bastard, why don't you go and find out who I am, Zhang Dao? The entry and exit of new employees in the entire company, and everyone's promotion and salary increase, cannot be done without my consent. I am now officially notifying you that you can get out. You are not worthy of working in our Baoshua company." Wow! Chu Lingtian grabbed the finger that Zhang Dao was pointing at him with his right hand. R. Zhang Dao screamed in pain, and he felt that the finger he was pointing at Chu Lingtian was about to be crushed. Chu Lingtian looked at Zhang Dao with cold eyes and said in a cold voice, "I hate it most when people point their fingers at me like this. Let go, let go. If you don't let go, I'll ask the security guards to kick you out." Zhang Dao grimaced in pain and threatened Chu Lingtian viciously. Guo Xiaoyan, who was squatting on the ground picking up something, was both happy and scared. She was happy that Chu Lingtian stepped forward to save her, but she was scared because Zhang Dao was the director of the Human Resources Department, and if Chu Lingtian did this, there would be no chance of her getting a job at Baoshua Company. "Stop! What are you doing?" At this time, Yang Wei, the head of the Human Resources Department, walked into the room and saw Chu Lingtian was teaching Zhang Dao a lesson, and he shouted at him. Zhang Dao immediately started to complain, pretending to be a victim and said, "Minister Yang, save me, save me. This kid doesn't know the rules, doesn't follow the company's regulations, and has no respect for his superiors. He is not worthy of working in our Baoshua company and must be fired." "Chu Lingtian, this is your first time coming to our Baoshua company. How dare you be so violent and hurt someone? Let Zhang Dao go." Yang Wei scolded Chu Lingtian angrily. "Minister Yang, I think you can first ask Director Zhang why I hit him." Chu Lingtian sneered. Guo Xiaoyan had a timid expression on her pretty face and whispered, "Minister Yang, it was Director Zhang who molested me first." Yang Wei looked at Zhang Dao, but Zhang Dao was so guilty that he lowered his head and dared not look at Yang Wei. "Chu Lingtian, the company has its own rules and regulations. I will severely punish Zhang Dao. You should let him go first." Yang Wei frowned and said to Chu Lingtian. Chu Lingtian was too lazy to continue beating up a scum like Zhang Dao, as it would only dirty his hands, so he let go. "Fuck." Zhang Dao was unwilling to accept the defeat and clenched his fists, wanting to rush up and hit Chu Lingtian. "Zhang Dao!" Yang Wei shouted angrily, and then said in an imperative tone, "Get out, and ask others to come in and handle the employment formalities for Chu Lingtian and Guo Xiaoyan." Zhang Dao was frightened by Yang Wei's scolding. He could only grit his teeth and rush out in indignation. Yang Wei looked at Chu Lingtian with a complicated expression, and without saying anything else, he turned and left. Soon, other people from the Human Resources Department came to complete the entry procedures for Chu Lingtian and Guo Xiaoyan. Chu Lingtian had just walked out of the HR department's office area when Guo Xiaoyan, carrying a simple white canvas bag, trotted after him. Her pretty face was full of gratitude, and she smiled sweetly and said, "Chu, brother Chu, thank you. It's okay. If Zhang Dao dares to harass you again in the company, tell me. Scum like him must be dealt with severely." Chu Lingtian smiled calmly. "Yeah. Wu Xiaoyan nodded cutely and asked shyly, "Brother Chu, what position are you applying for?" "Security, what about you?" Chu Lingtian responded and asked back. "Salesman." Wu Xiaoyan replied. The two walked out of the company together. At this time, in the office of Yang Wei, the Minister of Personnel, Zhang Dao stood in front of Yang Wei, his face full of anger and gritting his teeth. "Cousin, why don't you just fire Chu Lingtian? Why do you allow him to continue working as a security guard in the company?" Zhang Dao was a little confused and felt more resentful towards Yang Wei. "I have reminded you many times that we are only superiors and subordinates in the company." Yang Wei glared at Zhang Dao. Their relationship had always been a secret and no one else in the company knew about it. The two most important positions in the personnel department, that is, the minister and the director, are now occupied by the scum cousins Yang Wei and Zhang Dao. One can imagine how many tricks they have played and how much money they have embezzled. When Yang Wei became the head of the HR department of Baoshua Company, he immediately recruited his cousin Zhang Dao into the company and then promoted him step by step to the position of director of the HR department. From then on, the two brothers, they controlled the entire human resources department and profited from it. You should know that any new entry and exit of the company, including the promotion and salary increase of old employees, must be evaluated by the human resources department. The opinions of Yang Wei and Zhang Dao are very important. Their embezzlement and corruption have been unknown to anyone for so many years, not even Liu Bingxue. Secret. Minister Yang, I really don't understand why you want to let someone like Chu Lingtian join the company. Zhang Dao looked at Yang Wei with a depressed expression. He couldn't understand why his cousin didn't help him teach Chu Lingtian a lesson. Yang Wei frowned and cursed. "Stupid, I've told you long ago that if you want to seduce women in the company, don't use such stupid methods of bullying. You just need to control their promotions and salary increases, deliberately find mistakes in their work, and then use coercion and inducement, and you will basically succeed. Wu Xiaoyan just passed the interview, and you don't know her personality. If she is hot-tempered and starts to make a scene, and Liu Bingxue finds out, it won't do you any good. M.I. And that Chu Lingtian was specially approved by Liu Bingxue to work as a security guard in the company. He did not pass the interview of our HR department. Although Qin Li said that Chu Lingtian and Liu Bingxue have no special relationship, I always feel that things are not that simple. Besides, you want to kill Wu Xiaoyan and take revenge on Chu Lingtian. If you kick them out of the company, how can you take revenge later? If you keep them, there will be a long time to come. You are leader in the company, and they are just ordinary employees. If you want to find an opportunity to take revenge and control them, isn't it easy? Brother, you are still the best, I understand." After listening to Yang Wei's words, Zhang Dao suddenly became enlightened. His mind began to emerge with scenes of him successfully forcing and bribing Wu Xiaoyan to kneel down and lick her ass, and making Chu Lingtian kowtow and beg for mercy at his feet. Yang Wei said with a smug and lewd smile, "If I wasn't so capable, would I have been able to become the head of the HR department? How could I have successfully coerced and bribed so many female employees to lie down and let me fuck them over the years? However, does Chu Lingtian have any special relationship with Liu Bingxue? If we don't find out, we won't dare to retaliate against him recklessly." Zhang Dao frowned. He would never let Chu Lingtian go. He thought to himself that he would definitely avenge that kick. "I'm going to find Liu Bingxue now to see if I can find out the true relationship between her and Chu Lingtian." Yang Wei stood up from his office chair and walked towards Liu Bingxue's president's office. Chapter 16. Liu Bingxue was deceived and misunderstood Chu Lingtian. "Boss Liu, this is the registration form for Chu Lingtian and Wu Xiaoyan, two new employees who have just joined our company. You are required to sign and confirm it." Yang Wei walked into Liu Bingxue's office and handed over Chu Lingtian and Wu Xiaoyan's employment registration forms with a smile. Liu Bingxue lowered her head and wrote some information on her laptop. Without looking up at Yang Wei, she responded, "Please put the registration form here first. I'll sign it and let Qin Li take it to your HR department later." Yang Wei looked at Liu Bingxue with a greedy and lustful look in his eyes. His biggest wish was to get this stunning woman, Liu Bingxue, into bed. But Liu Bingxue is the head of the company, a famous cold and domineering female president in the business world of Dachang City. It is definitely not easy to approach and get her. But a stunning woman like Liu Bingxue, with a face as beautiful as a fairy, a tall figure, fair and delicate skin, a curvy figure, big breasts and a big butt, would definitely be the subject of the fantasies and admiration of countless men, and Yang Wei is one of them. Over the years, Yang Wei did not dare to show any signs of wanting to get Liu Bingxue openly, fearing that not only would he fail to get Liu Bingxue, but he would also lose his position as head of the HR department and be expelled from Baoshua Company. However, recently Yang Wei has become more and more obsessed with and fantasizing about Liu Bingxue. He would fantasize about her in bed almost every night, which led to him starting to have some perverted and vicious ideas. He wanted to find an opportunity to rape Liu Bingxue. Boss Liu. Yang Wei deliberately stopped talking. Liu Bingxue stopped typing, looked up at Yang Wei and asked, "Anything else?" Just now, Director Zhang Dao was processing the employment procedures for Chu Lingtian and Guo Xiaoyan, and there was a small misunderstanding. "I think I should report the details to you." Yang Wei looked at Liu Bingxue's beautiful face and her plump breasts, and he was so excited that he wanted to pounce on her immediately. "What misunderstanding?" Liu Bingxue frowned. When Chu Lingtian arrived at the Human Resources Department, Zhang Dao was processing Guo Xiaoyan's employment formalities. I don't know if Chu Lingtian got impatient and had a bad temper, or if Guo Xiaoyan misunderstood that Zhang Dao touched her hand when he handed back the documents, but Chu Lingtian kicked Zhang Dao hard on the head and injured his finger. Yang Wei deliberately turned black into white, distorted the facts, slandered Chu Lingtian, and deliberately did not finish his words, just to take the opportunity to test Liu Bingxue's attitude and reaction. "This bastard, it's his first day in my company, he hasn't even officially started working yet, and is already causing trouble for me." Liu Bingxue was so angry that she clenched her snow-white teeth and cursed Chu Lingtian in her heart. Yang Wei saw that Liu Bingxue was very angry, but he didn't say anything. He continued to ask tentatively, "Boss Liu, how do you think we should deal with this matter? Since it's a misunderstanding, just clarify it. When Chu Lingtian officially starts working, I must explain the company's rules and regulations to him." Liu Bingxue thought about it for a while, and knew that her decision would definitely cause Yang Wei to suspect the relationship between her and Chu Lingtian, and even cause the whole company to be in an uproar, so she said, "To tell you the truth, Chu Lingtian was introduced by an old classmate of mine. He and I have no relationship at all. Because he has not officially joined our company, and for the sake of my old classmate, I will only give him a minor punishment this time, but it will only happen this time, and it won't happen again." "Boss Liu, I understand." Yang Wei nodded. "Go down and appease Zhang Dao. I will punish Chu Lingtian myself." Liu Bingxue completely believed Yang Wei's slander against Chu Lingtian. "Okay." Yang Wei responded with a smile, then left Liu Bingxue's president's office. After seeing Yang Wei walk out of the office and close the door, Liu Bingxue immediately picked up her mobile phone with anger on her face and dialed Chu Lingtian's number. "Where are you?" After the call was connected, Liu Bingxue asked angrily. "I just finished the entry formalities and walked to the door of the building. What happened to you? Did you eat explosives?" Chu Lingtian's voice reached Liu Bingxue's ears from the other end of the phone. Liu Bingxue said coldly, "Come to my office immediately. Didn't we just go there? Why are you missing me so soon?" Chu Lingtian teased. Beep. There was a disconnect tone from the phone and Liu Bingxue hung up the call directly. Chu Lingtian smiled, looked at Guo Xiaoyan beside him and said, "Xiaoyan, I have something else to do. See you tomorrow." "Well, brother Chu, see you tomorrow." Guo Xiaoyan nodded sweetly, her pretty face always showing a charming shy look. This female student, who had just graduated from college, was entering society for the first time. Everything was new and unfamiliar to her. In addition, she was inexperienced and introverted, so she was easily shy. The more shy these pretty female college students are, the more likely they are to make men impulsive, wanting to protect, conquer, and train them. After seeing Guo Xiaoyan walking towards the bus stop not far away, Chu Lingtian turned around and walked back into Baoshua Company. At this time, Yang Wei called his cousin Zhang Dao for the sake of caution, and said after the call was connected, "The man surnamed Chu has no special relationship with Liu Bingxue. After he enters the company to work, you can retaliate against him without restraint." "Good. Great." Zhang Dao was so happy that he gritted his teeth. He responded with gnashed teeth. While Yang Wei and Zhang Dao were talking on the phone, Chu Lingtian walked to the door of Liu Bingxue's office. Qin Li, who was working as a secretary, was not there, so he pushed the door open and walked in. Liu Bingxue looked up and saw Chu Lingtian coming. Her beautiful face was cold, and her beautiful eyes glared at Chu Lingtian, and she directly scolded him. "Asshole, what did I tell you? You can come to work in my company, but you must abide by the company's regulations and obey the arrangements of your superiors. You just dared to beat someone up in public in the company, and the person you beat up was the director of the Human Resources Department. This will have a very bad impact in the company. You are too much. When you told me this, how did I answer? I said that I would abide by reasonable rules and arrangements. On the contrary, I would not abide by unreasonable rules and arrangements. Also, do you know why I beat Zhang Dao?" Chu Lingtian looked directly into Liu Bingshue's eyes and asked. "Of course I know. You misunderstood that Zhang Dao was a hooligan and touched Guo Xiaoyan's hand, so you beat Zhang Dao." Liu Bingshue replied. Chu Lingtian smiled and asked again, "Do you believe this is the truth of the matter?" "Of course I believe it. It was Yang Wei, the head of the Human Resources Department, who told me. He has worked in our company for many years and has always been fair and just. He has no grudge against you. This is the first time we met today. He has no reason or motive to wrongly accuse you." Liu Bingshue spoke with confidence. Yang Wei was her subordinate and had been in the company for several years. He had worked his way up to the position of head of the Human Resources Department and had never made any mistakes at work. If his character and work ability were not good, she would never have let him be the head of the Human Resources Department. Chu Lingtian and Liu Bingshue had only known each other for 3 days, and this strange man had taken away her virginity as a woman, and he couldn't even afford the 87 yuan for the room, and he even gave her such an unreliable gift when he went to meet her parents. Liu Bingshue resented Chu Lingtian more and more in her heart, and disliked him even more. In addition, over the years, she has been deceived by Yang Wei's seemingly upright image, so when it comes to Chu Lingtian beating Zhang Dao, she, Liu Bingshue, completely believes Yang Wei's statement. "Since you are so sure, I have nothing more to say." Chu Lingtian stood up and was too lazy to explain, because he knew that even if he told the truth, Liu Bingshue would not believe him because of the bad impression she had of him. "Chu Lingtian, stop right there." Liu Bingshue didn't expect Chu Lingtian to not even say a word of explanation or apology, and actually stood up and was about to leave. This was too arrogant. She said angrily in a delicate voice, "I must punish you today to serve as a warning to others." Chapter 17. The mysterious man wants to shoot Liu Bingshue with a gun. "How do you want to punish me?" Chu Lingtian turned around, stared at Liu Bingshue and asked. Liu Bingshue glared at Chu Lingtian and said sternly, "I want you to compensate Zhang Dao for his medical expenses and apologize to him in public. The medical expenses were deducted from my salary. An apology is out of the question." Chu Lingtian said calmly. Liu Bingshue slammed the table and stood up, angrily saying, "You hit Zhang Dao in public. If you don't apologize, who will take the company's rules and regulations seriously in the future? The rules that the company has established over the years cannot be broken just because of you. I absolutely can't apologize. Since you won't let me work in your company, I'll go to work in Liu Huohuo's company." Chu Lingtian shrugged his shoulders and left Liu Bingshue's president's office directly. Liu Bingshue was so angry that her breasts were shaking, but she couldn't do anything about Chu Lingtian for the moment. She could only swear secretly in her heart that after this guy officially started working in her company, she would find an opportunity to punish him. After thinking for a while, Liu Bingshue called Yang Wei and ordered him to deduct all of Chu Lingtian's first month's salary and give it to Zhang Dao as medical expenses. The matter was handled in this way. The next day, at 9 o'clock in the morning, Chu Lingtian arrived at the underground parking lot of Baoshua Company on time. Baoshua Company rented an 8-story building, which has a total of 9 floors including the parking lot on the underground first floor. Last night, Chu Lingtian received an employment message from the Human Resources Department, asking him to work as a security guard in the underground parking lot. Chu Lingtian knew that Liu Bingshue, the cold and domineering female president, seemed to be really controlled by his words at that time, otherwise, he would have received a text message saying that the Human Resources Department didn't want him. "Hello, my name is Chu Lingtian, and I'm the new security guard." Chu Lingtian walked to the window of the gate booth of the underground parking lot, looked at a tall, slightly fat young man wearing a security uniform inside, and said with a smile, "Fuck, you are Chu Lingtian." The slightly plump young man stared at Chu Lingtian with surprise and asked. Chu Lingtian asked back, "What's wrong?" The slightly plump young man quickly opened the door of the security booth and said excitedly, "Hero, come in and sit down." I just want to ask you something. Chu Lingtian walked into the security booth and felt that it was not too crowded. The space could accommodate at least 4 people. Individuals, so if 2 people are on duty, the environment is very relaxed. Hero Chu, my name is Wang Dagang. The slightly plump young man stood up from his seat and handed Chu Lingtian a cigarette. Chu Lingtian took the cigarette and asked with a smile, "You seem to know me. Chu Lingxiong, you are now secretly famous in our company. When you came for the interview yesterday, you actually dared to hit Zhang Dao, the director of the HR department. You are really awesome." Wang Dagang used a lighter to light the cigarette in Chu Lingtian's hand and said with an admiring expression on his face. Although Yang Wei and Zhang Dao tried their best to cover up the incident of Chu Lingtian beating Zhang Dao yesterday, it was still seen by other employees at the time, so the matter quickly spread quietly within the company. However, the employees who knew about it were afraid of the power of Yang Wei and Zhang Dao, and no one dared to discuss it openly. Chu Lingtian smiled and asked, "Why do you feel like you are gloating over Zhang Dao's misfortune when I beat him up?" "Brother Chu, I'm not going to hide it from you. Zhang Dao is an inhuman scum. The HR department is responsible for every employee's stay or departure, attendance bonus, promotion and salary increase. However, Zhang Dao often uses his power to extort money from ordinary employees like us. He even coerced and bribed female employees to let him do it." Wang Dagang replied indignantly. Chu Lingtian smiled and said, "It seems that I finally let you guys off yesterday. Am I?" "Yes." Wang Dagang nodded affirmatively, and then asked in surprise, "But, Brother Chu, you are quite amazing. You came here for a job interview and dared to hit the person who can decide whether you will pass the interview. And you didn't fail the interview because of this. Perhaps President Liu is fair in his dealings." Chu Lingtian smiled faintly and responded perfunctorily, but he already knew that the personnel director Yang Wei was a despicable villain. He distorted the truth about him beating Zhang Dao in front of Liu Bingxue and slandered him. Well, although Ms. Liu is a cold and domineering female CEO, she is not a bad person. She is just quite strict with her employees. Wang Dagang nodded, but he didn't know whether he was sincere or not. After all, it was the first time that Wang Dagang and Chu Lingtian met. The intrigues and deceptions in the workplace were often more complicated than imagined. It's cruel. No matter what job or position it is, as long as there are people, there will be open and covert struggles. Then I'll go change my clothes first. Chu Lingtian saw a new security uniform next to him, thinking that it should have been put there in advance by the Human Resources Department, so he picked it up. Wang Dagang pointed to the parking lot and said, "Go forward and turn left, and you will see a bathroom where you can change clothes. There are toilets in the underground parking lot, which is rare." Chu Lingtian said casually. "Our company manufactures and sells products, so there are many cars and people coming and going every day. This toilet is convenient for our employees and customers." Wang Dagang replied. "Okay, I'll change into my security uniform and walk around this underground parking lot to get familiar with the environment." Chu Lingtian nodded, then walked out of the security booth with his security uniform. After entering the men's restroom and changing into security uniform, Chu Lingtian put the clothes back into a plastic bag and walked around the underground parking lot carrying them. When he walked not far from the elevator entrance, he saw Liu Bingxue getting out of the cab of the car. She was wearing a white t-shirt, denim shorts, and a pair of pure white sneakers. Her whole body was full of youthful vitality, and she was pure and flawless, very beautiful. Liu Bingxue didn't notice Chu Lingtian, who was not far away. She carried her computer bag in her left hand and walked quickly to the elevator entrance to wait for the elevator. Chu Lingtian didn't want to say hello to Liu Bingxue, but just as he was about to turn around and leave, he suddenly frowned. Bite. At this time, the elevator came, made a sound, and the door opened immediately, revealing no one inside. Liu Bingxue walked towards the elevator with a pair of long, white, straight legs. But in the corridor next to it, at some point, a man wearing a black hat and a black mask was secretly hiding. His appearance could not be seen, and only his body shape could be judged to be a man. As soon as Liu Bingxue's left foot stepped into the elevator, the mysterious man's sinister eyes became even more terrifying. He quickly took out a gun containing a syringe of white unknown medicine, pointed it at Liu Bingxue's neck, and pulled the trigger with his right index finger. Chapter 18. No one knows that it was Chu Lingtian who saved Liu Bingxue. Wow! Just as the mysterious masked man was about to pull the trigger of the gun with his right index finger and shoot the white unknown liquid in the barrel towards Liu Huohuo, suddenly, a hand stretched out from behind him and grabbed his right wrist. The mysterious masked man's face suddenly changed. His right hand holding the gun was in so much pain that he instantly lost the strength to pull the trigger. His reaction was also incredibly fast. In the next second, his left hand touched a sharp dagger at his waist, ready to stab backwards. But the mysterious masked man obviously underestimated the strength of the man behind him. As soon as his left hand touched the dagger at his waist, the gun in his right hand was taken away, and the muzzle of the gun was pressed against his temple. At the same time, the elevator door closed. Liu Huohuo inside was unaware of this and didn't notice anything. "Who sent you?" the person standing behind the mysterious masked man asked in a deep voice. The mysterious masked man looked extremely solemn, and said in a shocked tone, "I didn't expect that a master like you would be hidden in such a small business company. Tell me, who sent you to attack Liu Huohuo?" Swish! The mysterious masked man did not answer, but suddenly pulled out the sharp dagger from his waist with his left hand and turned around to fight with the person behind him. Bang! But just as the mysterious masked man pulled out the dagger from his waist, he was hit hard on the back of his neck. When he completely lost consciousness and was about to faint, the mysterious masked man vaguely saw someone standing behind him, who was wearing a security uniform. The white liquid in this syringe is a strong sleeping drug. It seems that this mysterious masked man wants to kidnap Liu Huohuo. Chu Lingtian opened the syringe in the gun and immediately identified that it contained a strong drug. Just when Chu Lingtian was about to turn around and leave, his super instinctive alertness as a soldier king allowed him to discover the mysterious masked man hiding in the corridor. "You are lucky, Liu Huohuo. If it weren't for me, you would have been kidnapped by now," Chu Lingtian thought to himself. Although there was no love between him and Liu Huohuo, and the night of passion that night was indeed an accident after drinking, but one night of love is a lifetime of gratitude. After all, this was a woman he had slept with, and she was also the woman whose virginity he had taken. He had to watch the woman he had sex with being bullied. As a man who stands tall and proud, he could not just ignore it. Chu Lingtian then took off the mask on the mysterious masked man and found that his face was very ordinary. He searched his body but found no other clues to prove his identity. Chu Lingtian thought about it and solved this. The mysterious masked man tied his hands behind his back with his two shoelaces and pushed him out of the corridor. Soon other security personnel discovered the mysterious masked man who had been knocked unconscious and tied up, as well as the gun filled with white liquid drugs. They immediately began to report the situation to their superiors in panic. Before the mysterious masked man was discovered by other security personnel, Chu Lingtian had been standing in the dark, in case the mysterious masked man suddenly woke up and the other people in the company were no match for him. After confirming that the mysterious masked man was surrounded by a dozen security guards and would have no power to resist even if he woke up, Chu Lingtian quietly left. He returned to the gate of the underground parking lot as if nothing had happened. "Brother Chu, you took a long time to change your clothes. Something big happened in the company. Did you know that?" As soon as Wang Dagang saw Chu Lingtian coming back, he asked with his eyes wide open. Chu Lingtian asked back, "What happened?" "Just now, at the elevator entrance of our underground parking lot, someone tried to persecute President Liu Huohuo." Wang Dagang replied in a shocked tone. "Persecute President Liu?" Chu Lingtian pretended to be shocked as well. Wang Dagang nodded and said, "Just now, a colleague from the security department walked to the elevator entrance of the underground parking lot and saw an unconscious person lying on the ground in the corridor next to him. He walked over and was horrified because the person's hands were tied behind his back and there was a gun filled with an unknown white liquid next to him." "The gun, did you call the police?" Chu Lingtian asked. "The police have been called and are already at the company." Wang Dagang nodded and asked, "Brother Chu, you were wandering around in the underground parking lot just now and should have passed by the elevator entrance. Didn't you notice anything unusual?" "No." Chu Lingtian shook his head. Wang Dagang frowned and said to himself, "That's strange. Who saved Mr. Liu? How can you conclude that this person is here to persecute President Liu?" Chu Lingtian asked tentatively. After learning about the incident, Director Yang Kai of the security department immediately checked the surveillance video at the elevator entrance of the underground parking lot. Several people present saw with their own eyes that when President Liu Huohuo walked into the elevator, a gun filled with a syringe of unknown white liquid quietly poked out from the corridor. But until the elevator door closed, the needle didn't shoot at Mr. Liu. Everyone guessed that the criminal must have been subdued by the person who secretly rescued Mr. Liu at that time. It's a pity that the surveillance video couldn't capture the situation in the corridor.
Wang Dagang
answered. Chu Lingtian shrugged and said with a smile, since you have called the police, they will definitely investigate it thoroughly. We can't help much, so just stay at your post. Well, I heard that Minister Yang and the police have gone to President Liu's office. Wang Dagang nodded, but he never expected that everyone was guessing who saved Liu Bingxue in secret, and this person turned out to be Chu Lingtian, standing right in front of him. At this time, in Liu Bingxue's president's office, Yan Kai, the head of the security department of Baoshue Company, and two young police officers, a man and a woman, from the police were talking to Liu Bingxue. Ms. Liu, from the surveillance video, it seems that the man holding the syringe gun filled with liquid drugs came here specifically to attack you. Please think about whether you have made any enemies in business recently, or if something special has happened to you. The female police officer looked at Liu Bingxue and asked. Enemy, special things. Liu Bingxue frowned. She had been in the business world for many years and knew that the business world was like a battlefield. Many people would do anything to fight for profits, but it was rare to see someone as ruthless as her. She couldn't imagine who the enemy was. But there was something special that happened to her in the past few days. Her virginity of more than 20 years was taken away by a strange man, Chu Lingtian. No, I can't think of anything. Liu Bingxue shook her head. The male police officer said, Boss Liu, we will interrogate the criminal who wanted to attack you, but we also need your cooperation in the investigation so that we can find out the truth of the matter more quickly and accurately. First, find out why this criminal wanted to attack you, or who sent him, and second, who secretly saved your life. Ms. Liu, we hope you can tell us everything that happened to you during this period, including what happened in the company, because the person who attacked you used a heavy drug. At the very least, you will be in a coma for several days and nights, and at the worst, you will die. It is too dangerous. If we don't find out the truth as soon as possible, your life may be in danger. The female police officer continued. Liu Bingxue was stunned for a moment. If she told what had happened to her and the company in the past few days, wouldn't she be talking about the one-night stand she had with Chu Lingtian in the hotel? Then could it be that the gangsters who harassed her in the bar that night and were chased away by Chu Lingtian have come to the company again, and this gangster was hired by these gangsters to harm Liu Bingxue? After thinking for a while, Liu Bingxue said to Yang Kai, Minister Yang, please go out first. I want to talk to the two police officers alone. Chapter 19. Liu Huohuo urgently wants Chu Lingtian's phone number. For my own safety and the safety of the company. After the head of the security department Wang Kai left the office, Liu Bingxue told the two policemen everything that had happened in the company recently, some important projects that were being negotiated, and what had happened to her, including encountering several hooligans in the bar and being rescued by Chu Lingtian. However, when the words came to her lips, she still didn't tell them about how she and Chu Lingtian checked into the hotel. First, her personality is not as open and coquettish as her younger sister Liu Huohuo. Second, he felt that whether or not he talked about going to a hotel room with Chu Lingtian to sleep had little to do with the current gangster attack. Ms. Liu, that's it for now. We will interrogate the criminal who wanted to attack you. If you have any clues, please contact us immediately. The female police officer stood up and looked at Liu Bingxue and said. Liu Bingxue also stood up and replied gratefully, Thank you, you have worked hard. M.Iota. After personally escorting the two male and female police officers to the elevator and watching them leave, Liu Bingxue returned to her president's office with the security department director Wang Kai and her female secretary Qin Li. Xiao Li, immediately show me all the surveillance video of the entire underground parking lot today. Wang Kai, your security department must increase patrols from now on. It is best to have two people in a group and patrol the company 24 hours a day. Any suspicious situation must be reported immediately. Also, regarding the fact that criminals have infiltrated the company, inform those employees who are already aware of the situation that they are not allowed to discuss it or tell others, otherwise they will be fired directly. Liu Bingxue gave orders to Wang Kai and Qin Li in a cold and domineering manner. In addition to investigating who wanted to assassinate her, she also had to find out who secretly saved her, but the most important thing now was to prevent this attack from causing a bad impact inside and outside the company. If the gangster attack spreads, it will not only cause panic and various speculations among employees within the company, but will also make those companies outside worry whether it will be dangerous to cooperate with Baoshua Company. Qin Li nodded quickly and replied, "Okay, I'll go get the other surveillance video footage." Seeing Qin Li leave, Wang Kai looked at Liu Bingxue and suggested, "Boss Liu, I think your safety is the most important thing now, because the criminals are coming for you, so we must send someone to protect you specifically. Tell me what you think." Liu Bingxue nodded. "Before we figure out the background of the criminals and bring those who want to harm you, Mr. Liu, to justice, you must have someone to protect you. You are at home, and there are security guards in the community, so it is difficult for the criminals to succeed. At the company, we will also strengthen patrols, so it is also difficult for the criminals to succeed. In this way, when you are on your way to and from get off work, or when you go to other places, the risk factor will increase a lot. I suggest sending a highly skilled security guard to be your full-time driver during this period to escort you to and from get off work and all activities outside the company." While analyzing, Wang Kai also gave his own suggestions. Liu Bingxue nodded and said, "Okay, you go ahead and do this. The person who is chosen will have his salary doubled for the time he has been my full-time driver." "Yes." Wang Kai nodded in response, then turned and left Liu Bingshue's president's office. After a while, Qin Li returned to the office with a USB drive that had copied the surveillance video recording. Liu Bingxue and Qin Li watched the entire underground parking lot surveillance video from midnight to the present on TV. Chu Lingtian. When Liu Bingxue saw herself getting off the car and walking towards the elevator with her computer bag, and Chu Lingtian appeared not far away, she couldn't help but frowned. Qin Li asked in a low voice, "Boss Liu, what's wrong? Call Chu Lingtian to my office immediately." At this time, the surveillance video was repeating the scenes that had been seen before, Liu Bingxue said in a cold voice. Qin Li nodded and walked to the side to make a phone call. At this time, Chu Lingtian, who was playing games on his mobile phone in the security booth in the underground parking lot, received a call from Qin Li, saying that President Liu asked him to go to the office immediately. Before Chu Lingtian could speak, Qin Li hung up the call again. "Ganzi, stay alone for a while. Secretary Qin called and asked me to go to CEO Liu's office." Chu Lingtian stood up from his chair and said. Wang Dagang asked in surprise, "Why did General Manager Liu ask you to go to her office?" "As far as I know, General Manager Liu has never asked us security guards to go to her office in all these years. Have no idea." Chu Lingtian shook his head and wondered if Liu Bingxue had discovered from some clues that it was he who came to the rescue. This time he came back to the city to carry out a secret mission, and he also wanted to continue investigating the families. As for the fire tragedy, his strong fighting ability and powerful identity cannot be easily exposed. Boom boom boom. Chu Lingtian knocked on Liu Bingshue's office door. The person who opened the door was Qin Li. This beautiful female secretary just glanced at Chu Lingtian and left. "Do you feel like you can't eat or sleep at night if you don't see me every day?" After closing the door, Chu Lingtian walked up to Liu Bingxue and said teasingly, "Asshole, this is the company, be serious." Liu Bingxue glared at Chu Lingtian with a pair of beautiful eyes, and then asked, "Did you know that there were criminals who wanted to attack me?" "Knew." Chu Lingtian nodded. "I've watched the video surveillance footage of the underground parking lot. When the criminals tried to attack me at the elevator entrance, you were also nearby. Did you notice anything unusual?" Liu Bingxue continued to ask. "No." Chu Lingtian shook his head. Liu Bingxue asked, "Really? Really not, you don't doubt that I saved you?" Chu Lingtian asked with a chuckle, trying to play hard to get. Liu Bingxue said coldly, "I haven't thought about it that way, because I saw your skills when you beat away those hooligans who harassed me in the bar before. You are only slightly better than ordinary people, but the gangster who wanted to attack me dared to use a gun, and according to the description of the police, this gangster is very powerful. I concluded that you can't beat him. Then why did you ask me to come to your office?" Chu Lingtian asked impatiently. "Two things. First, I want to ask if you found any suspicious clues about the criminals. Second, why didn't you say hello when you clearly saw me?" Liu Bingxue questioned. Chu Lingtian asked back, "Your question is a bit ridiculous. Do I have to say hello to you when I see you? Or is it the company's rules and regulations to say hello to you as the president?" Liu Bingxue was so angry that her breasts were shaking and her body was trembling. Just as she was about to get angry, her cell phone rang. She picked it up and saw that it was her sister Liu Huohuo calling. Liu Huohuo seldom called her, so Liu Bingxue thought it might be something urgent. She thought about dealing with Chu Lingtian later and pressed the call button to answer the call first. Hello. Liu Bingxue pressed the call button on her cell phone and said. Liu Huohuo's anxious voice came from the other end of the phone. Sister, please give me Chu Lingtian's phone number quickly. I have something urgent to talk to him about.
Chapter 20. What does the little goblin want from Chu Lingtian?
What urgent matter do you have for him? As Liu Bingxue spoke, she glanced at Chu Lingtian, who was standing in front of her. Liu Huohuo replied impatiently, Don't worry about it. Anyway, I'm so anxious that I'm about to pee. It's more urgent than having sex. You? Liu Bingxue was made angry and embarrassed by Liu Huohuo's words, but she couldn't do anything about this charming and coquettish sister. Liu Bingxue was not expecting this, and for a moment she didn't know whether she should give it to her. Give it to her. This girl Liu Huohuo is too coquettish. She has been seducing Chu Lingtian since the first moment they met. Although we still don't know why she did this, her coquettish seduction is a fact. After Liu Huohuo gets Chu Lingtian's phone number, there's really no telling what kind of weird thing he might do. If she didn't give it to him, what excuse would she give? Did Liu Bingxue say she didn't have Chu Lingtian's phone number? That couldn't be right. How could a boyfriend and girlfriend not have each other's phone numbers? Unless they were a fake couple. Moreover, based on Liu Bingxue's understanding of her sister, who has a coquettish and bold personality, even if she didn't tell her Chu Lingtian's phone number, Liu Huohuo would definitely try every means to get it through other channels. Just when Liu Bingxue was hesitant, Chu Lingtian snatched her phone and said, Little goblin, what do you want from me? Huh? You're with my sister. Liu Huohuo asked in a somewhat surprised voice. Your sister and I are a couple. Is there anything strange about us being together? And now I work in your sister's company, so of course we are together day and night. Chu Lingtian replied. You work in my sister's company. Liu Huohuo was obviously stunned for a moment. Chu Lingtian asked back, Why, is it not possible? Based on my understanding of my sister over the years, she has a cold personality and is old-fashioned. In the past, a relative wanted to send their child to work in her company, but she rejected it sternly. In the end, I accepted the child to avoid embarrassment. What position did she give you? Liu Huohuo asked at the end of the sentence with a puzzled tone. Currently working as a security guard in the underground parking lot. While Chu Lingtian was speaking, he signaled Liu Bingxue with his eyes to keep quiet. Liu Bingxue glared at Chu Lingtian and wanted to snatch the phone back, but was afraid that this would arouse the suspicion of her sister Liu Huohuo. Liu Bingxue naturally knows this sister very well. She has a coquettish personality, open and bold behavior, and more importantly, she is very smart and sharp. If she is not careful, Liu Huohuo is likely to discover the truth that she, Liu Bingxue, and Chu Lingtian are pretending to be in a boyfriend-girlfriend relationship. Once Liu Huohuo knew that Liu Bingxue had hired Chu Lingtian to pretend to be her boyfriend and go to her parents' house to deceive them, given this little devil's hot-tempered and daring personality, she would definitely let everyone in the family know. How angry would her parents be with her then? Would her father Liu Shu's condition rapidly worsen, or even die of anger on the spot? Liu Bingxue simply couldn't imagine it. Basement parking lot security guard. My sister is too stingy. You are her boyfriend. Why don't you just stop following my sister and do me? Har har, I made a slip of the tongue. If you follow me, I will let you be the head of the security department of our company. How about that? Liu Huohuo said with a smile. Chu Lingtian smiled and asked, Little goblin, tell me, what do you want from me? We can't talk about this over the phone. Let's meet at the old place at 12 o'clock tonight. Liu Huohuo said mysteriously. The old place? Chu Lingtian asked in confusion. He and the little devil Liu Huohuo had only met once. How could the two of them have any old connection? It's a bar. Remember, don't let my sister know about this. It's a secret between the two of us. After Liu Huohuo finished speaking, he hung up the call. Chu Lingtian frowned. At 12 o'clock tonight, Liu Huohuo asked him to go to the bar again. What was going on between a man and a woman in the middle of the night? And Liu Bingxue couldn't know about it. What did my sister say to you? Liu Bingxue is an ordinary person, so her hearing is naturally not as sharp as Chu Lingtian, a super soldier. When she saw Chu Lingtian put her phone back on the desk, she immediately asked about it.
Nothing, just some nonsense.
This little devil is your sister. You should know her better than me. Chu Lingtian smiled and did not tell Liu Bingxue that Liu Huohuo had asked him to go to the Fine bar at 12 o'clock tonight. Liu Bingxue frowned and said, "It's because I know her that I know she can do all kinds of tricks at any time. Sometimes, there is nothing she can't say or do, except what you can't think of. Okay, let's all get to work."
Chu Lingtian stood up, opened his arms, stretched lazily, then turned and left.
Liu Bingxue looked at Chu Lingtian's back. She didn't call out to him, but she was very angry. The reason for her anger was very simple. She felt that Chu Lingtian, an ordinary man with no money, no power, no strength, dared to be so fearless as to show no fear of the majesty of Liu Bingxue, the cold and domineering female president of a company. He was too ignorant of the immensity of the world. Looking at the phone on the desk, Liu Bingxue thought for a long time and finally called her sister Liu Huohuo back. But no matter how Liu Bingxue asked, Liu Huohuo said that she was too bored in her office just now, so she called to ask for Chu Lingtian's cell phone number purely as a joke. At this time, Chu Lingtian returned to the security booth in the underground parking lot. Wang Dagang first asked curiously, "Brother Chu, why did General Manager Liu ask you to go to her office?"
Nothing.
He just asked me if I had spotted any other suspicious people while I was familiar with the environment in the underground parking lot.
He wanted to find more clues about the criminals.
Chu Lingtian replied. Then Wang Dagang told Chu Lingtian two things. The first thing Liu Bingxue has to do is to choose a skilled full-time driver from among the security personnel. Chu Lingtian expressed no interest. The second thing was that Liu Bingxue deducted all of Chu Lingtian's first month's salary to use for Zhang Dao's medical expenses. The Human Resources Department had just released an announcement in the company group, but Chu Lingtian had not joined the group yet, so he did not see it. Chu Lingtian was really depressed when he heard the news. The consumption level in Dachang City was already high. The 20,000 yuan Liu Bingxue had given him was used to rent a house, pay a year's rent, and buy some daily necessities.
Now it was all gone, leaving only a little over 100 yuan.
How was he going to live for the next month? Even 3 meals a day would be a problem. Brother Chu, what's wrong?
You don't have any money.
Don't worry, as long as you can win among the other security colleagues and become Mr. Liu's personal driver, your salary will be doubled.
Wang Dagang saw that Chu Lingtian was a little depressed when he mentioned that 1 month's salary had been deducted, so he spoke.
At this time, Chu Lingtian's cell phone rang. He saw that it was Guo Xiaoyan, the pure and beautiful college student calling. He pressed the call button with a little confusion.
Brother Chu, are you in the company?
Can you do me a favor? Guo Xiaoyan's pure, slightly shy and sweet voice came into Chu Lingtian's ears from the other end of the phone.
Chapter 21 Xiaoyan, why is the dog barking?
Yes, what's the matter? Chu Lingtian asked Guo Xiaoyan on the other end of the phone. Guo Xiaoyan said shyly, "I'll wait for you at the entrance of the cafeteria and tell you in person." Chu Lingtian was just about to ask Guo Xiaoyan what she wanted him to do for her, but the call was hung up. This made Chu Lingtian laugh and cry. He thought, do all beautiful women like to do such mysterious things?
Can't he just say what's going on?
This is what Liu Huohuo said on the phone just now, and this is what Guo Xiaoyan said now. Brother Chu, which beautiful girl called you? Her voice sounds very sweet. Wang Dagang asked with a curious expression and a sly smile. Chu Lingtian smiled and teased, "Gangzi, are you the most gossipy guy in this Baoshua company?" He. Wang Dagang smiled awkwardly and said, "Brother Chu, this is the first time I've heard such a pure and sweet girl's voice since I was a child, so I'm a little excited." Chu Lingtian smiled and could understand Wang Dagang. Men are hooligans until they die. As long as their sexual orientation is normal and their portraits are not hung on the wall, they will think about women all the time. Especially for otakus like Wang Dagang, who stay at home all the time except for work, he especially likes to watch porn movies and masturbate. And otakus have the least resistance to this kind of voice actor like women. Guo Xiaoyan is a pretty little beauty who just graduated from college and came out to find a job for an internship. She has a pure and beautiful face, fair and delicate skin, a plump figure, big breasts, and a big butt. In particular, she is a little introverted and easily blushes and becomes shy when talking to people. Her voice is even a little bit coquettish and shy, which will invisibly increase a man's desire to conquer and train her. It is conceivable that if a pure and shy little beauty, with a coquettish and shy voice, were to moan in bed, how many men could withstand such stimulation?
Don't let your imagination run wild. It's Guo Xiaoyan who joined the company with me yesterday. This girl is very innocent and kind. Don't go and harm her. Chu Lingtian reminded Wang Dagang.
Is it her?
Wang Dagang was shocked and said quickly, Brother Chu, you can't get too close to Guo Xiaoyan anymore, otherwise you will definitely not have a good life in the company. Chu Lingtian smiled and asked, what's wrong? Think about it, Guo Xiaoyan is the woman that Zhang Dao, the director of the Human Resources Department, has set his sights on. Judging from the various arrogant and evil deeds that Zhang Dao, this scum, has done in the past, he will definitely use some means to get Guo Xiaoyan into bed with him. You beat Zhang Dao before, and now you continue to go on a journey with Guo Xiaoyan. If you get close, Zhang Dao will definitely beat you to death.
Wang Dagang analyzed.
Chu Lingtian smiled faintly, har har, don't worry, Zhang Dao is not coming to continue to cause trouble for me, that's because he is smart enough. If he dares to come again, or dares to continue to harass Guo Xiaoyan, then I will continue to beat him up. I want to see whether his bones are harder or my fists are harder.
Brother Chu, don't be stupid. We are just the lowest level employees of the company, security guards with no money, power or authority. How can we possibly fight against a company executive like Zhang Dao? To be honest, security guards like us are the lowest level of people in the entire social work nature. Few people will take us seriously, and it is easier for Zhang Dao to kill people like us than to step on an ant. Wang Dagang hurriedly persuaded Chu Lingtian not to go against Zhang Dao, as he would definitely lose.
It's noon. I'm going to the cafeteria to eat first and I'll pack it up for you later.
Chu Lingtian walked out of the security booth and suddenly turned around to look at Wang Dagang, who was a little dazed and worried, and said in a sonorous and powerful tone. If you don't even look down on yourself, then it's even more impossible for others to look up to you. As a human being, you should stand tall and proud. Watching Chu Lingtian's back getting farther and farther away, Wang Dagang stood there in a daze. He was deeply moved by Yi Feng's words and that domineering look. Suddenly, he had an epiphany and realized that over the years, his manliness and even his dignity as a human being had indeed been worn away. Company cafeteria. Chu Lingtian had just walked to the door when Guo Xiaoyan came up to him quickly, holding 2 lunch boxes in her hands. She smiled sweetly and said shyly, Brother Chu, I brought too much food, so I want you to help me eat some, okay? Chu Lingtian was stunned for a moment. He originally thought that Guo Xiaoyan really wanted to ask him for help with something, but he didn't expect that she was inviting him to dinner. It seemed that this innocent female college student wanted to thank him for saving her from Zhang Dao yesterday. It was just that Guo Xiaoyan was shy and thin-skinned, or she was short of money and could not afford to treat Chu Ling to a meal at a restaurant outside, so she cooked the meal herself to express her gratitude. Looking at Guo Xiaoyan's shy and cute appearance, Chu Lingtian saw through it but didn't say anything. He nodded and said with a smile, okay, I'm hungry too. Well, then shall we go inside the cafeteria and find an empty seat? Guo Xiaoyan was very happy to see that Chu Lingtian accepted her invitation. Good. Chu Lingtian replied. The company's cafeteria is always crowded at noon. Some people buy food in the cafeteria, while others bring their own food. However, they also find a seat in the cafeteria. Have a meal. Because Liu Bingxue has a clear rule that employees are not allowed to eat anywhere in the company except in the cafeteria. Even she herself eats in the cafeteria or at restaurants outside. After Chu Lingtian and Guo Xiaoyan walked into the cafeteria, they quickly found an empty seat. After the two of them sat down, Guo Xiaoyan quickly opened the 2 lunch boxes in her arms. One lunch box contained corn rice, and the other contained braised pork and 2 braised chicken legs. She placed all of them in front of Chu Lingtian. Brother Chu, come and eat, and try my cooking. Guo Xiaoyan stared at Chu Lingtian with a pair of clear and beautiful big eyes, with some anticipation in her eyes. Chu Lingtian smiled and said, there are so many. Let's eat together. I've already eaten it. This is specially reserved for you. Gurgle tilde. Before Guo Xiaoyan could finish her words, her stomach started growling with hunger. This pretty and kind girl blushed instantly, lowered her head, and did not dare to look at Chu Lingtian. She looked really cute and lovable. Chu Lingtian smiled, used the lunchbox lid to divide the food into 2 portions, and then pretended to be serious and said, it's lonely and desolate to eat alone, and eating with two people will make you feel happy and happy. And if you don't eat, then I won't eat either. Brother Chu, I want to eat. Wu Xiaoyan looked up at the sunny and handsome Chu Lingtian, and her favor for him increased. She felt a different feeling in her heart. Who allowed you two to sit here? Stand up. This is the seat reserved for our director Zhang Dao. Suddenly, a man's angry voice was heard next to Chu Lingtian and Wu Xiaoyan. Wu Xiaoyan was frightened. She was a newcomer and had just started working. She was timid and hurriedly tried to stand up from the stool, but Chu Lingtian stretched out his left hand and pressed it on her shoulder, signaling her with his eyes not to move. Chu Lingtian looked to the side and saw a large bruise on Zhang Dao's forehead. He was staring at him with resentment and ferocity, as if he wanted to skin him alive. There were two young men following Zhang Dao. Boy, are you deaf? I told you to stand up. A young man saw that Chu Lingtian not only sat in his seat without moving, but also did not let Wu Xiaoyan stand up and give him space, and he immediately yelled in anger. Chu Lingtian ignored Zhang Dao and the other two, looked at the panicked Wu Xiaoyan, frowned and asked, Xiaoyan, why is there a dog barking? Are dogs allowed in the company cafeteria? Wu Xiaoyan was so amused by Chu Lingtian's words that she couldn't help but burst out laughing, as beautiful as a flower. Fuck, you dare to call us dogs? The two young men immediately put down the plates in their hands, rubbed their hands together, and surrounded Chu Lingtian aggressively. Chapter 22 Zhang Dao keeps courting death. What are you doing? Just when the two young men following Zhang Dao were about to attack Chu Lingtian, Liu Bingshua's voice sounded beside them. When Zhang Dao and the two young men saw Liu Bingshua coming, their faces changed immediately and they quickly stood aside. Wu Xiaoyan also stood up from her seat immediately. At this time, Zhang Dao took the lead and said with a smile on his face, Boss Liu, two colleagues and I are looking for an empty seat. Is there any room here? Liu Bingshua's face was as cold as ice. With an air of superiority and domineering, she looked at Zhang Dao and asked. No, let's look somewhere else. Zhang Dao was startled and quickly winked at the two young men, and then the three of them quickly walked away with their plates. Liu, hello, President Liu, my name is Wu Xiaoyan. Before Wu Xiaoyan could finish her words, Liu Bingshua glared at Chu Lingtian with her beautiful eyes, then turned around and left in her high heels. Chu Lingtian looked at Wu Xiaoyan, who was standing there in a daze, looking somewhat dumbfounded and embarrassed, and said with a smile, Xiaoyan, your braised pork is so delicious. Brother Chu, yes, I'm sorry. It's all my fault. Otherwise, you wouldn't have offended Zhang Dao, and Zhang Dao wouldn't have deliberately come to you to seek revenge like this. Wu Xiaoyan's pair of pure and beautiful eyes were filled with tears of guilt. Silly girl, this is not your fault. Even if you had not been harassed by Zhang Dao, and had worked in the company for a long time, as long as I discovered the beastly behavior of this scum, I would definitely teach him a lesson. Chu Lingtian smiled calmly. Brother Chu. Wu Xiaoyan wanted to express her guilt and apology but was interrupted by Chu Lingtian. Chu Lingtian put down his bowl and chopsticks, stood up, and said with a smile, Xiaoyan, thank you for the meal, it is really delicious. If Zhang Dao dares to harass you again in the future, or if you encounter any other problems in the company, just call me. Looking at Chu Lingtian's walking away, Wu Xiaoyan was very moved. Apart from her parents, Chu Lingtian was the first person who treated her so well. At this time, in Director Zhang Dao's office. Director, if Mr. Liu hadn't suddenly appeared just now, I would have beaten that Chu Lingtian to a pulp. A young man said viciously. Another young man also said, fuck, this is it. Chu Lingtian got lucky this time, next time I will make him crawl under your crotch in public, and then kowtow to you and beg for mercy. The two young men spoke arrogantly and did not take Chu Lingtian seriously at all. They thought that if Liu Bingshua had not suddenly appeared just now, the two of them would have beaten Chu Lingtian to his knees, kowtow, and wail in pain. Little did they know that if Liu Bingshua hadn't suddenly appeared, they would have been the ones kneeling on the ground, kowtowing and begging for mercy. HMPH, don't worry. As long as that little bastard Chu Lingtian is still in Baoshua company, I have plenty of time and ways to deal with him. Zhang Dao snorted coldly, his eyes filled with resentment and conspiracy. The young man who spoke first frowned and asked, Director, it is said that Chu Lingtian's entry into our company as a security guard was approved directly by President Liu and was not reviewed by the Human Resources Department. Could he have some secret relationship with President Liu that is unknown to the public? No, I'll tell you the truth. I have absolutely accurate information. There is no special secret relationship between Chu Lingtian and Liu Bingxue. Just feel free to deal with him. Zhang Dao firmly believed the information he had received from his cousin Yang Wei. After all, Yang Wei had personally gone to test Liu Bingxue. According to the information Yang Wei got from Liu Bingxue, Chu Lingtian was just introduced by an old classmate of Liu Bingxue, and there was no relationship between the two of them. Director, don't worry, I will definitely help you teach Chu Lingtian a lesson. Director, just leave it to me. In a few days, I will make sure Chu Lingtian kowtows and apologizes to you in public. Two young men expressed their loyalty to Zhang Dao. Zhang Dao also took the opportunity to deepen the inducement, nodded and said, as long as you two help me get rid of Chu Lingtian, and help me get Guo Shayan into bed, then I will apply to the minister to let you be deputy directors. Thank you, director. Thank you, brother Dao. The two young men were overjoyed and bowed and nodded like pugs. At this time, Chu Lingtian had returned to the security booth at the entrance of the underground parking lot. He handed the packed meal to Wang Dagang. Brother Chu, you're back just in time. Let's go and gather together. Wang Dagang put the packed food on the table next to him and said to Chu Lingtian. Chu Lingtian asked. Said, gather. Yes, except for a few senior employees over the age of 50 who will temporarily guard various places in the security department, all other people will gather in the gym to select Mr. Liu's personal full-time driver. Wang Dagang replied. Chu Lingtian shook his head and said, no, I'm not interested. Brother Chu, you have to go. When I was counting the number of applicants just now, I also put your name in. If you don't go, Minister Wan Kai will definitely punish me to death. I finally found this job with great difficulty. Wang Dagang had a sad face. Fuck. Chu Lingtian didn't expect Wang Dagang to sign him up privately, but he thought this guy was pretty good. Okay, I'll go with you, but I won't participate in the trials. Thank you, brother. Wang Dagang grinned, and couldn't help but ask curiously, Brother Chu, aren't you short of money? If you are selected as Mr. Liu's personal driver, your salary will be doubled. Why are you not interested? No reason, I'm not interested. Chu Lingtian shrugged his shoulders. He naturally couldn't tell Wang Dagang that he had slept with Liu Bingxue. He didn't get along with the personality of this cold and domineering female president. Afterwards, Wang Dagang and Chu Lingtian walked towards the company's gym together. At this time, in a hidden corner inside the gym, Zhang Dao was handing an envelope containing a stack of cash to the security director Wan Kai. Brother Kai, you must accept this envelope, otherwise you will look down on me, your little brother. Zhang Dao desperately stuffed the envelope into Wan Kai's trouser pocket. Wan Kai pretended to refuse twice, then accepted it, and asked with a smile, do you want me to help you teach Chu Lingtian a lesson? Brother Kai, you are really amazing. You guessed it right in one go, and you spoke so quickly. I admire you. Zhang Dao quickly flattered him and gave him a thumbs up. Wan Kai nodded, his eyes showing a hint of viciousness, and said arrogantly, don't worry, even if you don't come to me, I will teach Chu Lingtian a lesson later, because he dared to hit you during the interview, which is too rampant and too ignorant of the rules. I, Wan Kai, like to deal with such troublemakers the most. Whenever I see such troublemakers go from being unruly to being obedient to me, obeying my orders, and even bowing down to me, I feel particularly happy in my heart. Chapter 23. Will their conspiracy succeed? Thank you, Kai. When Zhang Dao heard Wan Kai say that he would give Chu Lingtian a good beating later, he grinned with excitement and anticipation. It's just a small matter. I have plenty of experience in dealing with this ignorant young man. Wan Kai sneered. He really didn't take Chu Lingtian seriously at all. Of course, Brother Kai, you are retired Special Forces soldier, and you are also the head of the security department. Chu Lingtian is just your subordinate. No matter in strength or status, the Chu guy is not even 1/10 of you. He is definitely not your opponent. I guarantee you will have to kneel down and beg for mercy. By the way, Brother Kai, these two brothers are my confidants. They are both masters of boxing and sonder. They practice every day and are very skilled. They can help you teach Chu Lingtian a lesson when the time comes. Zhang Dao introduced the two young men beside him. Brother Kai. Brother Kai. The two young men hurriedly nodded and bowed to Wan Kai. Wan Kai just nodded slightly in response. At this time, Chu Lingtian came to the gym under the leadership of Wang Dagang. The entire security department of Baoshua Company has a total of 31 people. Except for 6 old employees over 50 years old, the remaining 25 were all present. Soon, except for Wang Kai, all the security guards gathered together and stood in 2 rows, with Chu Lingtian standing at the back. Zhang Dao and his 2 young men pretended to play with fitness equipment nearby, ready to teach Chu Lingtian a lesson at any time. I think everyone knows that this time, Ms. Liu is selecting a personal full-time driver to be responsible for her safety on the way to and from work and other places. The salary of the selected person will be doubled. The selection conditions are very simple. First, you must be able to drive, and second, you must be highly skilled. All 24 of you have signed up. That's perfect. Now, start playing in pairs. The winner stays and continues the game, while the loser is eliminated until there is only one winner left. He will be Mr. Liu's personal driver. Wang Kai spoke loudly to the 24 security guards in front of him. Chu Lingtian immediately said, "Minister Wang, I won't participate in the selection, so I can be eliminated now." "You're not going to participate in the selection? Then why did you sign up? Are you kidding me, or are you kidding all these colleagues, or are you kidding CEO Liu?" Wang Kai glared at Chu Lingtian and asked him in a very domineering tone. He thought to himself, "I haven't. Someone is actively looking for trouble with you, but you bring it to me yourself, that's perfect. I didn't sign up myself." Chu Lingtian blurted out. Wang Kai asked coldly, "Who signed you up?" Report, when I went to register the list, Chu Lingtian was not at his post. It was Wang Dagang who registered for Chu Lingtian. The security guard who was counting the number of registered people was frightened by Wang Kai's aura and turned pale, and he quickly answered. Wang Kai laughed cruelly in his heart, and immediately looked directly at Chu Lingtian and said, "You left your post during working hours and ignored the company's rules and regulations. I will punish you severely. Minister Wang, it was lunchtime, and I went to the cafeteria to eat. Doesn't that count as being absent from duty and ignoring the company's rules and regulations?" Chu Lingtian also looked directly at Wang Kai, not at all frightened by his condescending attitude and constant questioning. Everyone else present also noticed that Wang Kai was targeting Chu Lingtian. However, most people don't understand why Wang Kai targeted Chu Lingtian. Wang Kai frowned. He wanted to use Chu Lingtian's absence from his post and failure to comply with the company's rules and regulations as an excuse to punish him severely. When he failed, he could only change his target and attack Wang Dagang, saying angrily, "Wang Dagang, Chu Lingtian clearly doesn't want to participate in the selection of CEO Liu's personal driver, why did you sign him up? You are wasting everyone's time and playing tricks on everyone. People like you don't deserve to stay in the company. Get out of here, I fire you." This. Minister, please forgive me just this once. I won't dare to do it again next time. My mother is sick and in the hospital. I can't lose this job. Please. Wang Dagang was shocked instantly. He had no talent and had finally found this security job. His mother was in the hospital and urgently needed money. If he lost this job, he would definitely not be able to pay for his mother's medical expenses. Wang Kai snorted coldly and shouted in a very powerful voice, "Humph, I, Wang Kai, have always been fair and just in my work. You made a mistake under my command, so you must accept my punishment. Come on, kick Wang Dagang out of the company. If he dares to continue making noise, beat him up." The 2 security guards standing in the front row immediately followed Wang Kai's order and stepped forward to throw Wang Dagang out of the company gate. Wang Dagang was so anxious that he almost cried. He was not only afraid of losing his job, but also worried that he would not have enough money to pay for his mother's monthly medical expenses. However, he could not resist, and no other colleagues stood up to speak for him. Just when the 2 security guards were about to forcibly take Wang Dagang away, Chu Lingtian stood in front of Wang Dagang. Chu Lingtian looked at Wang Kai and asked, "Minister Wang, if I signed up myself, it would have nothing to do with Wang Dagang, so you wouldn't hold him responsible, right? You just said that you didn't sign up yourself. Our colleague who compiled the list also said that it was Wang Dagang who signed up for you. It's too late for you to quibble now." When Wang Kai saw Chu Lingtian stand up to protect Wang Dagang, he wanted to beat Wang Dagang to death, first killing the chicken to scare the monkey in front of Chu Lingtian, and then continue to deal with him later. Chu Lingtian naturally saw that Wang Kai was looking for trouble with Wang Dagang on the surface, but was actually targeting him. He smiled and said, "I remembered it wrong just now. Although I didn't register in person, I asked Wang Dagang to register for me. Isn't that okay? Okay. Since you say so, then let's start the trials. Wang Kai stared at Chu Lingtian with cold eyes. He didn't expect that he would lose to Chu Lingtian in the first round after deliberately picking trouble. However, thinking that he had originally planned to have Chu Lingtian beaten up during the selection, he didn't continue to pester him. Brother Chu, yes, I'm sorry. Wang Dagang walked up to Chu Lingtian, with a sad face, and whispered. M.Iota. Chu Lingtian patted Wang Dagang on the shoulder and said with a smile, a real man should stand tall and proud, and shed blood but not tears. Cheer up, play well, and strive to become Mr. Liu's personal driver, so that your mother's medical expenses will be settled. Encouraged by Chu Lingtian, Wang Dagang nodded heavily. 3 minutes later, the game between groups of 2 began. Wang Kai deliberately assigned one of his most skilled security guards, who had also served in the army and was the most ruthless, to the same group with Chu Lingtian. Brother Chu, be careful. Your opponent used to be a soldier. He is a ruthless man who can chop off 5 bricks with one palm. I heard that he once punched a man on the head, turning him into a paralyzed vegetable for life, so he was ordered to retire by the army. When Wang Dagang passed by Chu Lingtian, his face was full of panic and he hurriedly reminded him in a low voice. Chapter 24 Har, do you really think Chu Lingtian is weak? Chu Lingtian, do you know why I was assigned to fight against you? The strong man standing in front of Chu Lingtian was about 1.75 meters tall, with dark skin. He was wearing a black vest, and his upper body muscles looked very developed and powerful. Chu Lingtian glanced at the dark-skinned man's arrogant appearance, smiled calmly and said, You were sent by Wang Kai to beat me up, and the reason why Wang Kai beat me up must have been due to Zhang Dao. Har, if you're not stupid, why did you offend Zhang Dao? Why did you challenge Minister Wang just now? The dark and muscular man asked with a sneer. No reason, just for words, do whatever you want. Chu Lingtian shrugged. The dark-skinned man clenched his fists until they crackled, showing off his strength, and said, You arrogant fellow, kneel down before you talk to me. Swish. As soon as he finished speaking, the dark and muscular man punched Chu Lingtian in the face with great swiftness. At this time, Wang Kai, Zhang Dao, their 2 young men, and Wang Dagang, all focused their attention on Chu Lingtian. Chu Lingtian knew that Wang Kai and the others were watching him. In order to conceal his terrifying fighting power and avoid suspicion of his true identity, he deliberately pretended to be frightened and panicked, and retreated instinctively. When Wang Kai, Zhang Dao and others saw Chu Lingtian being frightened like this, they all showed smug and cruel smiles on their faces. They thought that the dark and strong man would be able to beat Chu Lingtian to the ground and make him kneel down and beg for mercy. Bang! But in the blink of an eye, the dark and strong man suddenly fell to the ground, his face twisted in pain and his whole body twitching continuously. Chu Lingtian hurriedly exclaimed, What happened to him? I didn't touch him at all. Did he suddenly fall ill? When the people present saw the dark and strong man fall to the ground and twitch, they all gathered around. What's wrong with him? Wang Kai stared at Chu Lingtian and questioned him. Chu Lingtian looked innocent and said, I don't know. He just punched me and scared me so much that I quickly stepped back. I thought I was dead, but he suddenly fell to the ground and started convulsing all over. Minister, this may be a sudden illness. Send him to the hospital quickly. A security guard beside him whispered a reminder to Wang Kai. You 2 take him to the hospital and then come back and continue the game. Wang Kai looked at the 2 security guards beside him and said. Soon the dark and strong man was carried away by 2 security guards, and the people who stayed behind continued the game. Because the dark and strong man had a sudden illness and was sent to the hospital, Chu Lingtian's group naturally won. Wang Kai walked up to Chu Lingtian and sneered with disdain, You are so lucky. Yes, if it weren't for this dark. The black man suddenly fell ill. I could have been beaten to death by him. His fists were so powerful that I couldn't even take one punch. Chu Lingtian nodded repeatedly, looking like he was still frightened. In fact, the reason why this dark and sturdy man suddenly fell to the ground and twitched all over as if he had epilepsy was because Chu Lingtian kicked him quickly at a certain acupuncture point on his body at the moment he retreated. It was just that Chu Lingtian's kick was so fast that no one present saw that it was him who did it. They all mistakenly thought that the dark and strong man had suddenly suffered from some kind of illness, which caused him to fall to the ground and twitch continuously. Wang Kai looked at Chu Lingtian with vicious eyes, and walked aside without saying anything else. He did not take Chu Lingtian seriously. He firmly believed that with his strength and position in the company, if he wanted to teach Chu Lingtian a lesson, he had plenty of time and means, and it would be completely easy. Zhang Dao and his two trusted young men walked to the side again. They wanted to beat up Chu Lingtian immediately, but there were so many people present and they had no legitimate reason. If they did so, they would not dare to bear the severe punishment brought by the company's rules and regulations. Director, don't worry. No matter whether Chu Lingtian wins or not, we will go and cause trouble for him and beat him until he kneels down and kowtows to you. That's right. Don't worry. With our years of boxing and sonder training, not to mention one Chu Lingtian, even if there were 10 Chu Lingtians, they would have to kneel down before us obediently. The two young men were full of confidence and looked extremely arrogant. Zhang Dao nodded and said with a sinister look, once the game is over, no matter what the result is, you too will follow Chu Lingtian. It would be best if you find a place where there is no one and cripple him for me. I want to let this ignorant thing know that no matter who he offends, he should not offend me, Zhang Dao, because my anger is definitely not something that people like him can bear. Half an hour later. The result of the competition came out, and Wang Dagang won the final victory. As for Chu Lingtian, when he competed with the second person, he gave up on his own initiative because he really had no interest in being Liu Bingshua's personal driver. After Wang Kai announced that Wang Dagang had won and became Liu Bingshua's personal driver, the others dispersed. Wang Kai took Wang Dagang to see Liu Bingshua. Zhang Dao, along with his two trusted young men, quietly followed Chu Lingtian, hoping to take revenge. Chu Lingtian walked out of the gym and took the stairs instead of the elevator. Just as he reached the corner of the stairs where no one was around, he was surrounded by Zhang Dao and the two young men he brought with him. Zhang Dao pointed his finger at Chu Lingtian's nose and said with a fierce smile, Chu Lingtian, I'll see where you go today. Run. You seem to have forgotten what I said before. I hate it most when people point their fingers at me like this. Chu Lingtian looked at Zhang Dao with cold eyes. This look, as sharp as a wolf king's, frightened Zhang Dao so much that he trembled all over and took a step back uncontrollably. However, Zhang Dao quickly came to his senses. He firmly believed that with two subordinates who had practiced boxing and sonder for many years, Chu Lingtian would not be able to do anything to him and would have to kneel down and beg for mercy. Fuck it, I'm pointing my finger at you, what can you do to me? Zhang Dao still pointed his finger at Chu Lingtian's nose and asked more arrogantly. A young man sneered and said, Chu Lingtian, when you were in the cafeteria, CEO Liu Bingshua suddenly showed up. It was her who saved your life. Otherwise, you would have been beaten to a pulp in public by us. Chu Lingtian, if you know what's best for you, kneel down and get under Director Zhang Dao's crotch, then kowtow to him and apologize. Maybe we can show some mercy. Another young man took over and threatened. I give you 3 seconds to disappear from my sight, otherwise you will bear the consequences. As Chu Lingtian spoke, he took out a cigarette case and pulled out a cigarette. The young man who spoke first immediately sneered, Har har, you sound so great. If your opponent hadn't suddenly fallen ill during the match, you would have been knocked to your knees. How dare you pretend to be awesome in front of us? HMPH, don't think we didn't see it. When you faced your second opponent just now, you gave in before he even made a move. Coward, I'll tell you the truth. The two of us have been practicing boxing and fighting for years. We are much better than that dark-skinned security guard. Let alone beating one of you, even if we beat 10 of you, it would be as easy as stepping on an ant. Before the other young man could finish his words, his eyes suddenly widened, his eyeballs almost popped out and fell to the ground. His whole face became more and more distorted in an instant, and he fell to his knees in front of Chu Lingtian. Bang! Immediately afterwards, the young man who spoke first and shouted at Chu Lingtian also knelt on the ground. Before Zhang Dao could react, the index finger of his right hand pointing at Chu Lingtian was also broken. The two young men who thought they were so skilled that they could easily beat Chu Lingtian to his knees and beg for mercy, now knelt on the ground, shaking in pain, unable to make a sound. Zhang Dao screamed as he looked at his broken right index finger. The fear in the hearts of the three of them was more intense than the pain in their bodies, because no one could see clearly how Chu Lingtian beat them. Chu Lingtian lit the cigarette in his hand, took a puff, then put the cigarette in his mouth, put his hands in his trouser pockets, and without even looking at Zhang Dao and the other two, walked down the stairs. Chapter 25, Liu Huohuo was frightened.
Damn it, didn't you say you would beat Chu Lingtian so hard that he would kneel down and beg for mercy? Didn't you say that with your years of boxing and sonder training, not to mention one Chu Lingtian, even 10 Chu Lingtians would have to kneel down and kowtow? What's going on? Can you tell me what's going on? Zhang Dao's right index finger had just been broken by Chu Lingtian. Blood was dripping and the white finger bones were visible, but his anger was countless times more intense than the pain. He roared at the two young men under his command with a ferocious face. The two young men were still kneeling on the ground, holding their abdomens tightly with their hands. The pain was slowly subsiding, but they were still immersed in the extreme fear of being knocked to their knees by Chu Lingtian's punch. Brother Dao, we never expected that Chu Lingtian's skills would be so amazing. It's incredible. Chu Lingtian couldn't even take a punch from the dark-skinned security guard just now, and he voluntarily admitted defeat when fighting the second person. How could he have such terrifying fighting power? The two of us have been practicing boxing and fighting for many years. Ordinary people can't be our opponents at all. But, I didn't even see how he hit us just now. Listening to what the two young men said, Zhang Dao was so angry that his lungs were about to explode, and he cursed with a ferocious face. Fuck you, this is the first time I've been so embarrassed since I was a kid. I trusted you two so much and said a lot of harsh words to Chu Lingtian, but I didn't expect that I would be the clown in the end. You two pieces of trash, get out, get out. Brother Dao, we were too careless just now. We didn't expect that Chu Lingtian, who looked like a harmless guy with no strength, could actually be so powerful and strong. Don't worry, we will be careful next time and make sure we beat him to his knees. A young man said hurriedly. No need, you two losers can just do whatever you need to do. This time I will find some tough guys in Dachang City and I will not stop until I cripple that bastard Chu Lingtian. Zhang Dao uttered these harsh words and walked away angrily. Underground parking lot security booth. When Chu Lingtian came back, Wang Dagang was already in the security booth, sending messages on his mobile phone with a smile on his face. Brother Chu. When Wang Dagang saw Chu Lingtian coming back, he immediately smiled and handed him a cigarette. He respected Chu Lingtian before because he admired him for daring to beat Zhang Dao, but now he felt grateful. Chu Lingtian took the cigarette and said with a smile, "Congratulations, kid. Har har, I didn't expect that I would win in the end and become Mr. Liu's full-time driver and bodyguard, but I really want to thank you, Brother Chu. If you hadn't stepped forward to take the blame, I would have been fired." Wang Dagang looked at Chu Lingtian sincerely and said, "It's just a small matter, not worth mentioning." Chu Lingtian smiled and shook his head, then asked, "Should we too be on night shift tonight?" "Am I?" "Yes, although I have become President Liu's full-time driver, I will drive President Liu to and from work and go to other places, but she still has to go back to work at the company the rest of the time. However, President Liu said that starting from tomorrow night, I will be her full-time driver." Wang Dagang replied. Chu Lingtian remembered that the little devil Liu Huohuo had asked him to meet at Fine Yu Bar at 12 o'clock in the evening, so he said, "I have to go out at 11:30 tonight. Please keep watch for a while." "No problem." Wang Dagang nodded, and then asked curiously, "Brother Chu, are you going to rent a temporary hotel room to have sex with your girlfriend?" "You kid, you are the king of gossip, but I didn't expect your skills to be so bad." Chu Lingtian smiled. Wang Dagang replied, "Brother Chu, I have liked martial arts since I was a child. I learned from a kung fu master for a few years, and then I kept practicing on my own. By the way, you have offended Zhang Dao and confronted Minister Wen Kai in public. Maybe they will continue to cause trouble for you. How about I teach you a few moves so that you can use them for self-defense when the time comes?" "Okay." In fact, Wang Dagang's fighting ability was completely vulnerable in front of Chu Lingtian, but in order to better hide his true identity and strength as much as possible, Chu Lingtian agreed. 11:30 p.m. Chu Lingtian left Baoshua Company, hailed a taxi on the roadside, and went to Fine Yu Bar. Arriving at the entrance of Fine Yu Bar, Chu Lingtian saw Liu Huohuo waiting nearby. Liu Huohuo is still dressed very sexy tonight. She wears a t-shirt similar to a small vest on her upper body, showing her big breasts and beautiful back. She wears a pair of denim shorts that are almost like underwear on her lower body. The black fishnet stockings on her legs and the black high heels on her feet make this little goblin more feminine and more tempting to vent her desires. Chu Lingtian came to Liu Huohuo and couldn't help but glance at the deep white cleavage on the chest of this little fairy. He asked, "What do you want from me?"
Did you hit someone the last time you came to the bar with me? Liu Huohuo stared at Chu Lingtian with some worry in her eyes and asked back. Little goblin, you still dare to ask me? It was you who signed me up for that black boxing match, and you were drunk at the time, and you rushed up to fight with the other guy. Before Chu Lingtian could finish his words, he was interrupted by Liu Huohuo. It's over, we are finished now. Do you know who the guy you beat up in the bar is? He was Da Xiong, the trusted thug of the owner of Fine Yu Bar, Mr. Jin. Today, Mr. Jin sent someone to find me and told us to come here tonight to sort out the problem, otherwise we will never see the sun tomorrow. Liu Huohuo was a little emotionally broken and said with a very scared expression. Chu Lingtian frowned and said in an unhappy tone, as far as I know, this black boxing match also has its own rules. Once you step on the stage, life and death are left to fate, and you are not allowed to seek revenge afterwards. This Mr. Jin is too unruly, isn't he? You're crazy, keep your voice down, you want to die. Do you know who this Jin Yi is? I heard that he has a lot of influence in both the black and white worlds in Dachang City. Even big shots like the police chief can be treated as brothers by him. We can't afford to offend him. Liu Huohuo was frightened and turned pale, and hurriedly stopped Chu Lingtian from speaking rudely to Mr. Jin. Crackling. At this moment, more than a dozen men of different heights, weights and sizes rushed out of the bar. They surrounded Chu Lingtian and Liu Huohuo aggressively. A short and fat man looked at Chu Lingtian and Liu Huohuo as if he were looking at a dead person, and said in a cold voice, "Let's go, our master Jin wants you two to go in and see him." Chapter 26 Liu Huohuo is forced. Brother-in-law, what should I do? I'm so scared. Liu Huohuo looked at the dozen or so strong thugs surrounding her and Chu Lingtian, and was so scared that she quickly hid behind Chu Lingtian. Chu Lingtian looked at Liu Huohuo and said, "What can a lowly security guard like me do? By the way, you, as the president of a company, must be much more powerful than a lowly security guard like me. Don't you have any connections in the black and white worlds of Dachang City? Bullshit, do you really think connections are that easy to make? In today's society, everything is about profit. Only when you can provide long-term benefits to others will they become your connections. Besides, Jin Sanyuan, the owner of Fine Yu Bar, is a man who can get along with both the black and white worlds. He can open a bar and an underground black boxing arena in Dachang City. Maybe there are bigger and more powerful people backing him up. How can I be his opponent?" Liu Huohuo frowned, looking very worried. "Since you know Jin Sanyuan is very powerful, why did you go to his bar and cause trouble?" Chu Lingtian also stared at Liu Huohuo with an unhappy look and questioned him. Liu Huohuo suddenly revealed a wicked smile, and said as if it had nothing to do with him, "Hey, what did I do? I just came here to drink that night. It was you who severely injured Jin Sanyuan's men, and they are here to settle accounts with you tonight. Then what are you doing here?" Chu Lingtian asked again. "Although I didn't hit anyone or cause any trouble in the bar, I was there when you hit someone that night. Although I can't remember the situation clearly due to being drunk, I can still serve as a witness." Liu Huohuo's tone was serious, but her expression was playful and naughty. "Witness? You want to prove that I was the one who beat him up, and it has nothing to do with you, right? Little devil, you were the one who brought me to this bar that night, and you were the one who forced me to sign up for the black boxing match. Now that I'm in trouble, you want to clear yourself of all blame. Is that possible?" Bang! As soon as he finished speaking, Chu Lingtian slapped Liu Huohuo hard on the left white big butt. Immediately, the round and big butt of this little goblin swayed continuously, which was extremely sexy. "Oh, it hurts, can you be gentler? Is there anyone who spanks like you? Men need to be gentle when spanking women, otherwise women will be very disgusted." Liu Huohuo kneaded her left buttock with her left hand, and glared at Chu Lingtian with her beautiful eyes. But her words, her tone, and especially that look that was a little reluctant, were extremely alluring to men. Chu Lingtian was so confused that he didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He thought that this little devil was really born with a charming body. Every cell in her body was full of sexiness, so her unintentional words and actions were so charming. "Fuck, are you two done talking? Hurry up." The man in the lead had a bruise on the right side of his face, and it was unclear whether it was a wound or a birthmark. He looked a bit hideous and scary. He roared at Chu Lingtian and Liu Huohuo angrily. Liu Huohuo turned around to look at the man with bruises on the right side of his face, then turned back and whispered to Chu Lingtian, "You can even defeat a big bear, you are quite skilled, you have to protect me well later." Not bad at all. That night, Big Bear was drunk and he fell off the ring by himself. Chu Lingtian didn't want to expose his strength, so he lied to Liu Huohuo by saying that Daxiong was defeated by him because he was drunk. Liu Huohuo looked at Chu Lingtian with disdain, and said depressedly, "I really thought you were quite skilled, so we wouldn't have to be too afraid of Master Jin. I didn't expect that it was Daxiong who fell off the ring by himself. It's over. We are both dead now. You knew you were going to die, but you didn't run away or call the police. It would have been fine if you came by yourself, but you even called me as well. You really are a big-breasted and brainless person." While Chu Lingtian was speaking, he also glanced at Liu Huohuo's big breasts. "Run? Where can we run to? You can run away, but you can't escape the temple. Call the police? Even the police chief is Mr. Jin's brother. You might have known the news the moment you called the police. He will be even angrier, and our fate will be even worse. It's better for us to come and apologize and ask for forgiveness." Liu Huohuo looked at Chu Lingtian with contempt, thinking that her sister's boyfriend had no intelligence and no ability. She also didn't know what her sister Liu Bingxue was thinking, that she would fall for such a useless man. Knock knock. At this time, the short and fat man walking in front stopped and knocked on the door in front of him. Crunch. The door was opened from the inside. Chu Lingtian and Liu Huohuo walked in. Four muscular men wearing black vests, black pants, and black leather shoes stood at the door of the room, and on a leather sofa in the middle, a man was half lying down. There was a fat, big-eared, middle-aged man with a face full of flesh. This man was Jin Sanyuan, the owner of the Fine Bar, also known as Mr. Jin. On both sides of Jin Sanyuan's legs, there was a beautiful young woman squatting, wearing only bra and panties. They were both using their hands to gently massage Jin Sanyuan's thighs. "Mr. Jin, the people are here." The man with a bruise on the right side of his face walked up to Jin Sanyuan and spoke in a low voice. Jin Sanyuan was leaning back on the sofa, holding a lit cigar between the middle and index fingers of his right hand, and resting with his eyes closed. When he heard the words of the man with bruises on the right side of his cheek, he slowly opened his eyes. The moment he opened his eyes, Jin Sanyuan could not take his eyes off Liu Huohuo standing in front of him. Jin Sanyuan has money and influence in Dachang City, and has played with many beauties, but this is the first time he has seen a beauty like Liu Huohuo, who has a face as beautiful as a fairy, a plump figure, big breasts and a big butt, and especially a temperament that exudes full femininity and sexiness. Liu Huohuo saw Jin Sanyuan staring at him with lustful eyes, and felt uncomfortable all over. He forced a smile on his pretty face and said, "Hello, Mr. Jin. The last time my brother-in-law and I came to the bar, it was all a misunderstanding. I hope you can be magnanimous and forgive us." Misunderstanding? Damn it, Daxiong's entire right arm was shattered and his internal organs were also injured to varying degrees. He will never be able to stand on a boxing ring again in his life. Is this a misunderstanding? The man with the bruise on the right side of his face immediately cursed loudly. Liu Huohuo quickly explained, "Master Jin, the injury of Daxiong was not caused by me and my brother-in-law. It was Daxiong who drank alcohol and fell off the ring. It can't be blamed on us. He fell down by himself." The man with bruises on the right side of his cheek was about to tell Liu Huohuo that so many people at the scene saw it with their own eyes that your brother-in-law Chu Lingtian knocked Daxiong out with one punch, and now you are saying that Daxiong fell by himself. Do you think we are idiots? But the man with the bruise on the right side of his face was interrupted by Jin Sanyuan before he could finish his words. Jin Sanyuan's eyes were full of lust as he looked back and forth at Liu Huohuo's big breasts and a pair of slender, white and tender legs. He grinned, revealing a few big gold teeth, and said, "Beautiful girl, since you asked, I'll give you this face. As long as you stay and sleep with me tonight, cooperate with me in various positions, and lick me on your knees, then I will let you go. How about it?"